A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
The greatest story ever told. This afternoon we present Incident in Bethlehem, a drama inspired by events set forth in the second chapter of the Gospel according to St. Matthew. Events concerning the birth of that child who was to live the greatest life ever lived. The pale winter moon is high in the heavens over Judea, and in the dark sky, all other stars seem small compared to the one great star which shines there. Shepherds have seen the star and know it is a sign from God. And the many travelers who sleep in the open fields have seen it and felt its power. And except for one man in Jerusalem, the star seems a sign of comfort and inspiration. Yet this one man has more power than all other men in Judea, for he is Herod the Great. And he stands now on the uppermost parapet of his palace, looking toward the star. With each passing moment, he becomes more fearful, and as his fear increases, so does his anger grow, until eventually he calls out, "Captain! Captain, come here at once."
Yes, Your Majesty. Is it something you wish?
That cursed star is still there. I never should have let them go. It was a mistake.
They, sir?
3 kings coming from far-off lands, seeking a newborn king. It was a mistake to let them go.
Your Majesty does not often make mistakes.
I have no patience with flattery, Captain, not now. The way they talked about a newborn king cannot be dismissed as merely a legend or a superstition. If there is such a king, he must be found and destroyed.
You have only to give the word, Your Majesty.
Now, we must be neither anxious nor quick. We must be clever. Before he can be killed, he must be found. And the only way we know to find him is to find those 3 kings and bring them back here.
But they promised to return, didn't they?
We cannot depend upon promises. They have set out for Bethlehem. You will find them. You will bring them back.
Yes, Your Majesty.
This means a great deal to me, and I tell you now, the man who accomplishes this will benefit from it.
To serve you faithfully is all I seek, Your Majesty.
Ah, you are like the rest of them. Your loyalty is for sale. Your willingness can be bought. I know a man of ambition when I see one. Well, go and carry out the order.
Benjamin, where are you?
I'm here, sir.
Sleeping, were you? Well, there will be no sleep for us this night. We must prepare at once for a journey.
A journey, sir? In the middle of the night? Is there any danger, sir? Any trouble?
No, there is danger, but not for us. And as for trouble, this is the kind of trouble a man can find very worthwhile.
Sir?
One man's trouble can be used by another man to his advantage. And such a chance as this, I had not expected it so soon. You will prepare the animals, and we'll be on our way.
As you say, sir.
Tell me, Benjamin, how would you like to be an aide to a general?
A general, sir? Are you thinking of having me transferred?
What if you could be aide to a general and not be transferred, huh?
You, sir? You will be made a general?
Seems fantastic to be raised from a captain to a general in one step, but it is possible. So hurry, this is important.
Sir, we've been riding for some time now. Don't you think it's wise to stop and rest the animals?
What, Benjamin? What'd you say?
The animals, sir. They could stand some rest.
Yes, we'll pull up here by the side of the road and rest them a while. Well, Benjamin, dismount.
Yes, sir.
And now, Benjamin, if you will hold the reins of my horse so that I can dismount. It is only right for a man who is going to be a general to have those little courtesies performed for him, isn't it, Benjamin?
I suppose so, sir. There, I'll hold the animal.
Now. You know, I've been thinking. The first thing I will do, I will move out of the barracks at the palace. I will have a whole suite of rooms for myself on one of the upper floors.
Sir?
Perhaps I shall even have a house of my own. Oh, no, that would not be wise. I must always be at the palace. I must be available whenever His Majesty wants me. Benjamin, if a man is to be successful, the best thing he can do is to be available for opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Now, you take this evening. Suppose another man were on duty this evening. I would never have had this chance at all. No. I shall always... Benjamin, are you listening to me?
I'm sorry, sir. I was staring up at the sky. At that star.
That star. Imagine such a faraway thing frightening a powerful man like Herod. I tell you, sometimes His Majesty is like a child, fearful, superstitious, and yet, why should I complain? His fear has given me this great opportunity. And in a way, it is only fair that this should happen in Bethlehem.
Sir?
Did I ever tell you, Benjamin, I was born in Bethlehem?
Well, no, sir, I never did.
Oh, yes, I lived there till I was 15.
Oh?
We were poor, very poor, and I used to say to myself, one day I will leave here. I will go to Jerusalem. I will become a great man, a great scholar, perhaps, or a great merchant. When I was 16, I left there, and I did go to Jerusalem. But opportunities were impossible to find. No merchant could be bothered with a poor, ragged orphan boy.
I know, sir.
And as for being a scholar, well, a boy must eat while he learns, and that was impossible. So, finally, I started just as you had started, Benjamin, as an aide to an officer. And then when I grew older, I became a soldier. Strange what happens to the dreams that boys have. But I cannot complain. I've done well for myself. In fact, it was one single moment that changed my whole career as a soldier. The opportunity was there, and I made the most of it.
Well, sir, was that the time that you saved a Roman general from falling?
Ah, then you know about it.
Oh, yes, sir. They talk about it at the barracks very often.
Oh, do they? What do they say about it, Benjamin?
Well, sir, as I heard the story, they say that this Roman general was being carried up the great broad steps of Herod's palace in a litter.
True.
And that one of the slaves tripped and fell, and you jumped into his place before the litter itself could fall.
Yes, that's what happened. The sharp edge of the litter cut into my back. Oh, yes, it was very dramatic, Benjamin. The way the blood stained my cloak. And the general said to me, you are a good man. I will speak to the king about you. And he was as good as his word. For the next day, Herod sent for me. Even asked me to show him the wound in my back. And I shall never forget the words he said to me. You are the kind of man I like to have around me. A man who thinks quickly and is brave and willing to shed blood for the king. Well, that was the way I became an officer, Benjamin, and that was all I needed. Oh, you cannot know what it means to me to return now to Bethlehem as a captain of His Majesty's service. I wonder if they'll recognize me. Well, we shall see soon enough. We'd better be moving on.
Yes, sir. Sir, see how many campfires there are along the road. Almost as many as there are stars in the sky.
You see what happens to people who are not in authority. They take orders. When they are told to go out on the road, they go. And if they must sleep in the fields, that's where they sleep. Such things do not happen to a man of power.
Watch out, sir. There is someone there ahead on the road.
Rein in your horse. We will stop and see who is fool enough to travel on foot by night. Hey, you there. Stand where you are.
Yes, sir. I will not move.
please, I'm a peaceful man. I shall cause no trouble.
You'll come here. It is an order given by an officer of King Herod.
Please, sir, I have done nothing wrong.
You travel on foot in the dead of night. Are you out of your mind?
No, sir, but I am one of those who must return to the place of his birth to be counted for the tax. And having no animal, I set out on foot. I had to travel all night, else I would not reach there in time.
There?
Yes, sir, Bethlehem, the town where I was born.
So you were born in Bethlehem, huh? What is your name?
Elihu.
Elihu? Tell me, are you a weaver?
Yes, sir, but how would you know?
Oh, never mind that.
Please, sir, I must ask, for it's strange that you would know about me unless there was some trouble. I've never done anything wrong. If there has been a disturbance, if that's what you're interested in, I had nothing to do with that, sir. It was the shepherds.
Shepherds? What about the shepherds?
Well, it was very strange, sir, the way they came along the road, not walking, but running. And the things they talked of, say, it was so strange, I think perhaps... Well, sir, I do not like to say.
I see. One moment, then. Now you will tell me everything you saw and heard, everything. You understand?
Please, sir, let go of me. I will not attempt to run away, and I will tell you everything.
And what about the shepherds?
Well, sir, to be honest with you, I think they were daft, sir. Out of their minds.
What made you think that?
Well, it's the way they talked about the star and the voice.
What voice?
Well, they kept saying it was a voice from heaven.
See here, old man, I'll hold you accountable for every word you say. If you're lying to me, you will suffer for it.
But, sir, I'm not lying. They talked to me. They asked me to come with them to see the newborn king.
The newborn king?
Yes, sir, that's what they said. They said that he was born. The voice told them.
Where were they going?
They said to Bethlehem, sir.
Bethlehem, huh?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Tell me, old man, did you see 3 men ornately dressed pass this way on the road to Bethlehem?
3 men? No, sir, I did not see them.
We will find them. Now, old man, you're free to go, and thank you for your information.
You're very welcome, sir, very welcome. Anytime I can be of service to His Majesty, I'm always glad to do so, sir.
Well, Benjamin, did you hear that? I tell you, Bethlehem is a city of destiny for me. Imagine if I could find the 3 kings and the newborn child. Then there would be no doubt of it. I would be a general. Come, we must be on our way to Bethlehem.
There, sir. There's the town up ahead.
Yes, I could make out the form of the town sentry. He will tell us what we want to know.
Do you really believe what the old man told you?
About the shepherds? Well, who knows? We'll pull up here and question the sentry.
Who are you? Who goes there?
Instead of asking questions, sentry, you will answer some.
Who are you?
Let me dismount and come close to the torch, and you will see who I am.
We've had enough strange things happen here tonight. Oh, sir, forgive me. I didn't realize you were an officer from the palace.
Well, now that you know, you will answer some questions.
Yes, sir.
I've heard a weird story about some shepherds. They come here tonight?
Oh, you should have seen them, babbling about strange things. So excited you couldn't get a sane word out of them.
What'd they say?
Oh, sir, I wouldn't even want to repeat it.
You will tell me.
Yes, sir. They talked about a child. A newborn child. Then they said something about a voice from heaven.
What else did they say?
To be honest with you, sir, I didn't pay much attention to the rest. It sounded crazy to me. Crazy.
Tell me one other thing, sentry. Did 3 men come here to Bethlehem tonight? And men dressed in fine clothes, riding on camels.
How did you know about them?
Where'd they go?
Into the town and to the inn, I think.
You think? You mean you didn't make it your business to find out?
Well, sir, you must understand I'm here alone. I can't leave the town gate unattended. I couldn't follow them, and since there has been no disturbance after they passed through here, I have no reason to follow them.
All right, sentry, open the gates and let us through. I'll find those 3 kings.
Kings, sir?
Just open the gate and let us through.
Yes, sir, at once. You understand, sir, that I do the best I can. And I hope you'll not report me to Herod, sir. For after all, a man can't be in two places at the same time.
I've heard such excuses before, but let me warn you about this, Sentry. Let no man out of Bethlehem tonight. This is an order.
Yes, sir.
Come, Benjamin.
The town is deserted. The windows are shuttered. There's no light at all.
Benjamin, imagine what it will be like to lead them before Herod. Here, Your Majesty. Here are your 3 kings delivered right into your hands. And what is more, here is the newborn king, too.
Sir, you would bring him back, too?
Yes, I will bring him back. For the 3 kings, Herod will make me a general. And for the newborn child, who knows? Perhaps his chief minister. But first, we must find them. Innkeeper, open up here. I do not answer out of stubbornness. Well, I'll knock with the handle of my sword. That'll rouse him.
Who is it? Who is it this time?
I told you that would bring him. Open up, innkeeper.
I'm sorry there's no room at this inn tonight. I'm very sorry.
We have not come asking for room, but if we had, believe me, you would find it soon enough, for we are from Herod's palace.
From Herod's palace?
Aye.
I knew there would be trouble tonight. All these strange visitors. And now this. Believe me, sir, we are innocent. We've done nothing wrong, nothing at all. We've taken in some poor wayfarers and given them a place to sleep in the stable. Surely there's no crime in that?
Look.
Sir, why are you laughing?
I was laughing at the way you tremble. Ezra?
How do you know my name?
So I'm right, it is you.
Who are you?
You don't know me? You don't remember the boy who was your friend? A boy by the name of Cyrus?
Cyrus. Long time ago, there was a boy named Cyrus, whose father was a potter here in Bethlehem.
Exactly.
So it is you. After so many years. It seems almost impossible.
Well, is this the way in which you greet an old friend? Don't you ask him in? Won't you welcome him back after all this time?
Of course, Cyrus. Come in. Come in.
Come, Benjamin. We are being made welcome by an old friend. What is it, Ezra? Why do you stand there and stare at me so?
It's still difficult to believe. To see you in your uniform with Herod's insignia on your breastplate. Yes, I'm very much surprised.
Surprised or disappointed, Ezra?
I've not said anything. Far be it from me to criticize an officer of Herod's army.
You couldn't disguise the way you feel, Ezra. You are disappointed, aren't you?
Do you really wish to know?
As an old friend to another, you can be truthful with me.
Cyrus, I have a clear and fond memory of those old days. I remember when my father wished to provide for you. He said you could work here at the inn. I remember how proudly you said that you were going to Jerusalem, that you were going to be a great merchant or a great scholar. And now to see you this way.
There are all kinds of greatness in this world, Ezra. You, being an innkeeper in a humble town like Bethlehem, would not know that. And perhaps you would not even believe me, but I am here now because the king himself instructed me to come here. Yes, your old friend is of some importance in high places. Oh, I wish you could have seen your face when you recognized this uniform, how you stood at the door and trembled.
Is that your new measure of importance, Cyrus? How much you can make others tremble?
I have no need to answer your questions, Ezra. I'm here on important business, and you're wasting my time. Now, I have some questions which you must answer. And I ask these not as a friend, but as the captain of King Herod.
I will answer what is required of me.
3 kings from far-off countries came to stay in Bethlehem. Did they come here?
They are peaceful men. Surely they've not transgressed any law.
Then they are here. You've seen them.
Yes, I've seen them.
And some shepherds, too, who came telling strange stories?
Yes, the shepherds, too.
What brought them to this door?
I do not know.
Then perhaps I will tell you. A child. A newborn child.
You know that?
Very little I do not know. So, Ezra, you have lied to me, huh? Not a very nice way to treat an old friend.
Perhaps not. Then somehow you do not seem like an old friend, Cyrus. I don't know whether it's the uniform or the hard, determined look in your eye. But from the instant I opened the door, I've been afraid of you. I never used to be afraid of him.
Him?
My old friend. The boy I used to know.
A fool and a dreamer is what he was.
Indeed. Tell me, Cyrus, when does a man exchange dreams for ambition?
As soon as he is old enough or clever enough to know the kind of world he lives in. Now you will show me where the child is.
You must understand this is a very special child. Since his birth, many strange things have happened.
Kings have come from far-off places to see him, and shepherds have been driven mad by strange voices because of him.
You could not say that if you'd seen their faces as I have. Not mad, my friend. Inspired. In their eyes a glow of reverence such as I've not seen in any man in my lifetime. I tell you, this is different from anything which has ever happened before.
You will make a very eloquent witness, Ezra. I think perhaps I will have to take you along, too.
Witness? Well, what do you mean?
You will see. Now take us to where the child is.
Cyrus, I plead with you. In the name of the friendship we once had, do not become involved in this. To raise your hand against the child is to raise your hand against God himself.
God will not make me a general. Herod will. Take me to the child.
So that's it. That's what you've been promised. And you would buy high office with the blood of innocents.
Take me to the child.
Come. This way. The child is in here.
Well, if this child is as special as you say, why have you put him in the stable?
Stable?
This is the stable, isn't it?
Strange. Since the child was born, I've not been able to think of this as a stable, but a holy place.
You sound as daft as the rest of them, Ezra.
Do I? Well, I can't find names to put on what I feel. I know only that I've felt strong and peaceful and inspired since this child was born here.
You whet my appetite, Ezra. I would like to see this child, which has had such an effect upon all of you. Open the door.
Cyrus, please, before I do, in memory of old times, promise me this one thing. You'll not harm the child.
Benjamin.
Yes, sir.
I've no time to argue with fools. Open the door.
Well, sir, if what he says is true...
You too, Benjamin? Open the door, I said.
Yes, sir.
So I have found all of you. You, shepherds. You 3, the kings. Am I right? And there, lying in the manger. Let me see for myself. And this is... Is this newborn child?
Yes, my friend.
A child. I have never seen such a child before. But this whole place seems to glow with his presence. And the way they all kneel and worship. Shepherds and kings side by side. I see it, and yet I cannot believe it.
Is it so difficult to believe, my friend? Are not all men the children of God, and therefore equals before God? You may kneel too, if you wish.
You would never say that to me if you knew why I came here and who sent me.
I may not know why you have come here, but I do know who sent you.
By the insignia on my breastplate?
I had not even noticed that, my friend. I knew from the look in your eyes. God has brought you here. For what purpose, I do not know. But it cannot be an evil purpose, or else he would not have brought you to this place on this night.
You really believe that? Can you look at me and say that God has brought me here for a good purpose?
Yes, my friend. So if you wish, you may kneel here too and pray. Come, my friend. Kneel. Pray. You will feel better.
Sir, Cyrus, we're coming to the town gate now. Sir, do you hear me?
I can hear you, Benjamin. We will stop at the gate, and you will knock there and let the sentry know we wish to leave the town.
Yes, sir.
Who is it? Who wishes to leave the town this time of night?
Open up for an officer of King Herod.
Oh, yes, sir. Sir, I have not left here for a moment, and I followed your instructions. No one has been allowed to leave the town.
I give you different orders now. 3 men riding on camels will be here soon. You will allow them to go.
Sir?
And a little family, a man, a woman, and a child. You will allow them to go too.
But before you...
A man can change his mind, can't he? A man can change, can't he?
Sir?
You have heard the orders. Come, Benjamin, we must go.
Sir, where will we go? We can't go back to Jerusalem, not after warning those people to flee. If Herod finds out...
I will not go back to Jerusalem.
And you have such great ambitions, sir.
When does a man exchange dreams for ambitions? When Ezra asked me that, I realized how much I'd changed. And when I saw the child, I realized how evil a man I'd become. That I could seek to buy high positions with the life of a child. Oh, Benjamin, I am through with that kind of ambition. With Herod and with evil of all kinds, I am not going back.
But where will you go, sir?
Does not matter so much where a man goes. It is what he does there. The child, by his presence, changed a stable into a holy place. Well, I will find some humble place and devote my life to making it a better place. Benjamin, a man's dreams and his ambitions can be the same if his purpose is good.
Yeah.
on this same network at this time, we will present another episode in the greatest story ever told from the greatest life ever lived.
The Graymore Friars Monastery is located on Atonement Mountain, near Garrison, New York. Adjacent to this famous monastery, one sees St. Christopher's Inn. Homeless men from all walks of life come to this famous inn. These men are fed and sheltered by the Graymore Friars, and no distinction is ever made of race, creed, or color. You're invited to listen to another chapter of the dramatized story, The Life of Christ, brought to you, transcribed each week by the Graymore Friars, who offer this series with a prayerful hope that this vivid portrayal of the life of Christ will help to awaken in you a deeper personal love of God and a firm determination to strive to prove that love in your daily life. Now, Chapter 16, The Death of John the Baptist. During the many months that Jesus was preaching in Galilee and elsewhere, John had been imprisoned in the fortress palace of Machaerus. He had been visited by his disciples, who reported to him how Jesus was curing the sick, driving out devils, and preaching the Word of God. To reassure his own disciples, John had sent messengers to Jesus to ask if he were the one John was sent to announce. And Jesus had, as was his custom, let his actions stand as the proof of who and what he was. Herod Antipas, Tetrarch of Galilee, had been a frequent visitor of John's cell, and it was thought by many in his palace that Herod was coming under John's influence.
Close the door, guard, and leave us alone. I'll call you when I want you.
Yes, ma'am.
Spies. The place is full of spies.
ready to run to Herodias and whisper in her ear every time I visit here. Let them. You're my prisoner, and I'm lord of the palace. If I wish to talk to you, it's no concern of hers or anyone else. People have no love for me, or I for them, so why should I bother to please them?
It is because you've taken your brother's wife that you offend them.
Philip was only my half-brother, a shiftless fellow who wasted his life in Rome. He could do nothing for Herodias, or for her daughter Salome.
The offense was double in that you are lawfully married to the daughter of King Aretas.
She deserted me. She came here on some pretext and then fled to her father.
That was when she learned you were planning to bring your brother Philip's wife to take her place.
Enough of this. You've lived as a hermit all your life. You know nothing of the world or all the deeds that men must do to get along. But I must rule a kingdom filled with people and deal with rulers who are no better than myself. Oh, you fanatics are all alike. You retire to a cave by yourself. You turn your back on the world, and then return to tell us we're wicked, that we're weak, and filled with desires we shouldn't have.
Desires can be good as well as evil.
Yes. Oh, but there's no point in discussing that. What's done is done, and once time swallows down a mistake, there's naught man can do.
There is repentance. There is baptism for the remission of sins. That is why I have been sent.
That is your cry, and many came to you and were baptized. Then another man came, and many of your followers ran to him. Even now he wanders about my territory and preaches and does strange things. Listen. Oh, music. It's coming from the room above. Very nice. Herodias is very proud of Salome. She was taught to dance when in Rome, and she's very adept and has had no trouble in picking up the new dances she finds here.
Enough, Salome.
No, Mother. Let me dance.
In a moment, but you must rest a bit.
Oh, but I'm not tired. Oh, I could dance like this forever. It's so different from the dancing I was taught in Rome. So much more grown up.
At 16, you must remember you're not a little girl, but a woman. A very charming and talented woman.
Thank you, Mother.
And with your dancing, you can go far.
Go far?
Yes.
Oh, but I dance for my enjoyment.
Surely you don't think I've spent all this effort so that you could entertain yourself. Such talent as you have shall be turned to profit.
In what way?
To better our position.
Better our position?
To influence men to give us what we want. Men hold the power in this world, but a beautiful and charming woman, like yourself, can do with men pretty much as she chooses.
I know that, Mother. Herod always gives in to you.
There is one thing I want that she hasn't given me, but that's not your concern. Now I must tell you what's going to happen on Herod's birthday.
What? What, Mother?
You will dance for his guests at the royal banquet.
Oh, Mother. Oh, do you really mean it? You'll let me do that?
I insist upon it. You must dance so charmingly that Herod will forget his gloom and be himself again.
Well, he certainly needs something to make him cheerful. He's so grumpy and morose. Sometimes I wish you hadn't left Father to marry him.
Your father was a bore, and he was lacking in ambition. Herod is the son of a great king. He's in favor with Tiberius and could become king of Galilee. One reason we want this banquet to be a success is that we can win the support of the leaders in this area. Herod is an excellent host when he's in a jovial mood, and I'm relying on you to stir him from his present lethargy.
It might help if you could get him away from John the Baptist.
Is he with him again?
I think so. I saw him going in that direction.
You run through that dance once more. Don't restrain your movements. Rather, let the music be your guide and let the body interpret what it suggests. Music! your body weave to the music. That's right. Now you've caught it. You continue. I must see what that fool's doing in the cell.
John, you say you're not the Messiah of whom the Jews talk. Then who are you?
As I've told you many times, a messenger.
Yes, of one to follow, but has he come?
The one I was to announce stood among the others at the Jordan.
Who is he? Where is he?
He will reveal himself at the proper time.
John, I can let you out of here. Herodias' anger has cooled. She hasn't mentioned you for weeks. You know how women are, and if you would apologize for what
I can make no bargain, nor can I unsay my words. Your marriage to your brother's wife is unlawful.
Fool. Stubborn fool. Don't you know I've stood between you and death all these months? Don't you know my marriage has become unhappy because of you? Oh, your name's never mentioned between us, but you're always with us, and the silence of your name is more irksome than its utterance. Who is hurt when I follow my desires in marriage? Not you.
The law is always the law, and truth is law. And whether I live or die, the truth and law remain as one.
You're not the fool. I have been the fool these months. One would think you've fated to die. In making an offer, you make me feel as if I were guilty of a wrong. Heaven help the monarch who imprisons an honest, stubborn fool who's won the fancy of the people. For in the end, he reverses the role and makes a prisoner of the jailer. I am the prisoner here. All Galilee accepts my marriage, except you.
What men whisper out of fear, I have uttered aloud.
Will you never stop telling me how brave you are with a wagging tongue?
What man says from necessity is neither courage nor cowardice.
I don't understand you, but why should I? I no longer understand myself. Many have died for less than what you've said, and yet you're still alive. I ask myself why I've let you live. I'm tempted to let Herodias have her way, so that in watching you die I can settle in my mind whether you're a fool or a prophet, a brave man or a sham. Which is it, John? In the name of heaven, tell me so I can have some peace.
I am but a servant obeying the master.
I am master here.
Jailer, not master.
I can destroy you by a word.
Only my body, not my soul.
Let me out of here! Jailer, open this door! Curse me the day I met you, John. Curse me the woman who bore me to meet you. Yes, may a serpent strike me if ever again I set foot in your cell. Guard!
Yes, master.
Under pain of death, never unlock the door for me again to see this man. For should I ask it of you, I'll be stark mad.
Herod, I was looking for you.
What is this music for?
Oh, Salome. She's dancing.
Stop it! Get out of my sight! All of you!
Salome, leave it.
Yes, Mother.
Oh, Herod, what is the matter with you? Do you realize your birthday banquet's a week off? What kind of a reception will it be with you as sullen as a sick camel?
Dancing music. I've no stomach for trivialities. I've weighty matters.
You've been with John the Baptist. I can always tell.
Woman, didn't I tell you not to mention that name again?
Hear me out. I'm not going on about the man when the very mention of his name upsets you so.
Can I be sure of that?
Of course. He's not worth quarreling about.
Do you mean you've forgotten what he said?
No, but I must bow to your will.
You swore you'd have his head.
My foolish husband. Don't you know women say things in anger and cling to them through pride?
I'm glad to hear you speak like this. Perhaps now we can discuss the practical aspects of my situation. I've no fondness for the man, but others have. His death might be a signal for an uprising.
You'll not free him?
And let Pilate march in on the excuse that treason is condoned in Galilee?
Then let him stay where he is.
No. I've thought of a better plan.
Tell me this plan.
I'll write a letter to Pilate, friendly in tone, and tell him a dangerous fanatic has been captured, but since he came out of Judea, perhaps Pilate might want to deal with him.
Yes.
Make an example of him to disparage others. Pilate will be flattered that I recognize his authority, and I'll be rid of John without antagonizing his followers. Pilate will have to arrest him, perhaps execute him. And if he does, I can make capital of it by turning John's disciples against Pilate.
Oh, an excellent plan.
You really think so?
I do indeed. A masterpiece of diplomacy.
Then I'll go and write the letter and get it off tonight.
Salome, where did you come from?
Behind the curtain.
You listen.
Yes, Mother. Didn't you tell me one can learn more from behind a curtain than at a council table?
You learn and you remember. You will succeed.
Why did you agree so quickly to the plan when you despised John the Baptist?
Pilate's no fool. If the truth be known, he was glad when John fled Judea and was arrested. The last thing Pilate wants is to have John return to Judea. Bad news, Harry.
Pilate. He appreciates my generous offer to deliver John the Baptist and recognizes the spirit which prompts it.
Then he refuses?
The lying dog says he was ready to arrest John, but accuses me of offering a refuge. He ends by saying I'm in much better position to handle events which took place in my own territory.
Oh, don't let it upset you. John can do no harm where he is, and you can report to Tiberius that you made a friendly gesture to Pilate and he spurned you.
You may be sure I will do just that.
Mother, when do I dance?
First, let them fill themselves with wine. Men are more pliable when drunk. Listen to him laugh. It's been months since he so much as smiled. Now, get ready. Dance about the room, give no one man special attention, yet smile at each one as if it were meant for him alone. Start slowly, and merely suggest at first. But as you continue, throw off restraint and blend your body to the music. It will increase in tempo. After the first few moments, subtlety is not desired. They're too drunk to appreciate anything but the obvious. Are you ready?
Yes, Mother.
Then go. When finished, come to me at once, and let me know what Herod offers you as a reward.
Yes, Mother.
Beautiful. What grace. Like a willow in the wind. Who is she?
My stepdaughter, Salome.
Salome! She's superb. Wonderful!
Salome!
Yes, Father?
I'm well pleased with you.
Oh, is that all, Antipas? A reward for such dancing. Something worthy, Antipas. A queen's reward.
She'll name her own reward.
Oh, she's but a child. She'll ask for a trinket. You'll get off cheaply.
No. Salome, whatever thou dost ask, I will give to thee. On my head I swear it, even though you ask for half my kingdom.
Well said, Antipas, well said.
I don't know what to ask for. Give me a moment. I will ask my mother.
They were pleased with you, Salome. I heard the applause from here.
Yes, Mother, yes.
What did Herod offer you?
Anything I asked, even half his kingdom. He swore it before them all.
Now I shall fulfill the vow I swore.
Mother, they wait. What am I to ask for?
You will say to him, I want thee right away to give me on a dish the head of John the Baptist.
Wine, servants, more wine.
Father?
So you've made up your mind?
Yes. I know what I want.
Attention! Salome has come for her reward. Well, girl, what's it to be? Oh, half my kingdom.
I want thee to give me, right away, on a dish,
Yes, what is it?
the head of John the Baptist.
What are you saying?
I want thee to give me on a dish the head of John the Baptist.
It's your mother. It's your mother asking.
No, I wish it too. You promised me.
Aye, Herod, you swore it. Anything she asks. Oh, you get off cheaply.
What's ahead, more or less, huh?
Bear witness, then. The Tetrarch of Galilee keeps his promise. Guard! Go to the dungeon. Cut off the head of John the Baptist. And bring it to me.
Father, on a silver dish.
On a silver dish.
Where dost thou take me? You dropped the silver dish. Here. The silver's soft. It dents easily. Here. Take it. The present I swore to give thee. Take it. Get out of my sight with it,
Accursed be upon the day you learn to dance. Cursed be the day of thy birth, and cursed be the mother who bore you. Wine! Music! Drink! And drown the horror of the scene with song and drink and laughter!
Here, Mother, I bring thee that for which you asked.
And John's disciples, hearing of his death, came, took his body, and buried it in a tomb, and came and told Jesus. The Graymore Friars Monastery is located on Atonement Mountain near Garrison, New York. Adjacent to this famous monastery, one sees St. Christopher's Inn. Homeless men from all walks of life come to this famous inn. These men are fed and sheltered by the Graymore Friars, and no distinction is ever made of race, creed, or color. You're invited to listen to another chapter of the dramatized story, The Life of Christ, brought to you, transcribed each week by the Graymore Friars, who offer this series with a prayerful hope that this vivid portrayal of the life of Christ will help to awaken in you a deeper personal love of God and a firm determination to strive to prove that love in your daily life. Now, Chapter 17, The Feeding of the 5,000.
How much more you, O you of little faith? Therefore do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we put on? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his justice, and all these things shall be given you besides.
John the Baptist, the voice crying in the wilderness to announce the coming of the Messiah, was dead at the hands of Herod Antipas. The banquet ended, the guests departed, and a gloom darker than before descended over the fortress of Machaerus. For a guilty fear gnawed at the heart of Herod, and when he and Herodias met in the musty corridors, they looked not into each other's eyes, and silence lay between them like a shroud. The disciples came and took John's body and placed it in the earth, and then went to tell Jesus.
Master,
what would you have of me?
I am Caleb. You may remember I was one of those who came to you with the message from John, and we delivered that message. John was greatly pleased with what you had said and what we told him we had seen. But now, Master, I come, the bearer of fearful news. John the Baptist is dead. When we learned of his death, we went to Antipas and begged him for the body. He granted our request, and we buried John not far from Machaerus. The body was without its head. From the servants we learned the story. When Antipas and his guests were inflamed with wine, Herodias sent her young daughter to dance for them. Antipas was so pleased with her that he cried out she could have anything she pleased of him. The girl, at the behest of her mother, returned at once and asked for the head of John the Baptist. It was given to her, and the child carried the head to her mother on a dish of silver. Master, in sorrow, I leave you with your sorrow.
And he left Jesus. Now the time was soon before the Pasch, and the disciples were returning from the missions on which Jesus had sent them.
It was John that guided us to the Master.
And baptized us at the Jordan. Oh, I wish we could have been with Jesus when he received the news.
John was the first to die. Remember, Philip, when Jesus gave us our instructions?
Yes, I do. You will be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who has persevered to the end will be saved.
Yes, that and more. Everyone who acknowledges me before men, I also will acknowledge him before my Father in heaven. Twice did John acknowledge Jesus before all men, and he will not be forgotten in the kingdom of heaven.
Look, Simon, there's Judas and Andrew waiting for us at the crossroads.
They're returning from their mission. Greetings, Andrew. Judas.
Greetings.
Greetings.
I'm wondering why Jesus didn't save John. One would think he'd have done something. He has the power to snatch others from death's door.
Judas Iscariot. Huh? You should not speculate on that, nor question Jesus' actions.
Even so, one can't help but wonder and question.
You must have patience, Judas. Did he not tell us there's nothing concealed that will not be disclosed?
But when? There's much I don't understand about him.
He's not an ordinary man, Judas. We've known him but a year. How can you expect to understand everything about him?
Andrew's right. It will take a lifetime to understand even a few of the things he has done.
Oh, you reproach me for wondering and questioning, but I'm sure you're asking yourself the same question.
Let's have no more of this discussion. I'm anxious to know how you were received. Let us hurry to Jesus, and as we walk, we can compare notes.
Master, I did everything you told me. I mean, all I could remember. And the people listened. And I'm sure many took your message to heart.
Philip is too modest, Master. In his quiet, shy way, he won all hearts.
And you, Simon, how did you fare?
I cast out devils. I impressed upon them the coming kingdom. I bade them do penance. I'm sure many were won.
And you, Judas?
Oh, I remembered well your words, that men were not to be trusted, and I was wise as a serpent. You may be sure that when I saw I was not being received, I shook the dust from my feet and moved on. I took good care that no one had the opportunity to haul me before the magistrate, for I had no desire to be scourged or stoned. I adhered strictly to your instructions and...
Master, it is the crowds. They come seeking you.
They have seen us return, and have followed us to this house. Master, they will give us no peace, and you've not yet heard the others make their reports.
Oh, we'll have no time with you, Master. They'll ask you to cure their sick and comfort them.
Come apart into a desert place and rest a while.
But where? They'll follow us.
There's an isolated spot we can reach by boat. It's only a short sail. Simon, you know the place near Bethsaida.
Yes, it's ideal. Andrew, if you'll get the boat ready, we'll join you in a few minutes.
I'll be ready in 10 minutes.
The Master rests in the bow.
It is well. I hope we were able to slip away without the crowd knowing where we were headed.
I don't think so. Several people saw Jesus come aboard. We should be permitted to have a few moments alone with him.
You can't blame the people, Judas. There's so many ill who seek cures, so many despondent who need encouragement.
Andrew, change course to the north. We're opposite Bethsaida.
Look, to the shore.
People. Thousands of people.
How did they get here ahead of us?
They noted the course of our boat and walked along the shore waiting for us to turn to the land. Master, what shall we do? Return to Capharnaum?
No, Peter. I shall receive them.
But they're thousands. In addition to the crowd from Capharnaum, they're the pilgrims gathering for the Pasch.
Could you not dismiss them, Master, and tell them we came here to be alone?
We must have compassion. They are like sheep without a shepherd.
What course, Peter?
Hold the course. We're putting into Bethsaida.
And Jesus, coming forth from the boat, beheld the great throng. And he received them with compassion, and he began to preach to them, and to teach them many things of the kingdom of God. And he healed them who had need of healing. And the crowd closed in and followed him.
Simon, Andrew, are you aware of the time?
Time, Judas? Oh, yes. Simon, it's getting late.
I'm sorry. I lost all sense of time.
It's not many hours until dark. Everyone will be hungry, and there's no food to be had, and...
We must go to Jesus and remind him.
Should we interrupt while he speaks with the people?
We must. Since he seems to have forgotten the time, we must look for him.
Come, let's speak to him. Master.
What is it, Simon?
This is a desert place, and the hour is already late. Send the crowds away, so that they may go into the villages and buy themselves food.
They have no need to go.
But they must find lodgings. And as for food...
You yourselves give them some food.
But, Master, we have nothing...
Come, Judas. Let us take stock of our resources.
I'll stay with Jesus.
Oh, Master, there must be 5,000 people here.
Whence shall we buy bread that these may eat?
200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that everyone may eat a little.
What does he mean that we should feed them?
I suppose he wants us to buy what bread we can. Judas, how much money have we?
200 denarii.
I'll speak to him. Master, we have but 200 denarii. Shall we go and buy bread and give them to eat?
How many loaves have you?
We brought nothing with us.
I've looked around. There is a boy here that had 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes. What are these among so many?
Bring them here to me.
Yes, Master. I'll find the boy.
Make all the people recline in groups of 50.
Very well. Pass the word for all to divide into groups of 50 and sit down.
The Master says to divide into groups of...
50 men in each group. Here are the loaves and fishes which I bought from the boy.
And Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and looking to heaven, blessed and broke the loaves, and divided the fishes into bits. And he called his 12 disciples to him.
Each of you take of the loaves I've broken, and the fishes I've divided.
Yes, Master.
Now, take what has been given you to the others.
Yes. Yes, of course, Master.
Is he mad? What can he mean?
What are we to do, Peter?
This crowd will revile us if we give them a morsel. It would be better to give them nothing.
Wait. Do you not think he is aware of the size of the portions? A bit ago he spoke to me, and it seemed as if there was a smile on his lips as he asked me where we would get food for these people.
Perhaps he could... Oh, no. No, that's impossible.
What are you thinking, Andrew?
I was recalling the marriage feast at Cana.
Come. We have our instructions, and the hungry people are waiting.
Simon. Simon!
Yes, Philip?
I've just fed the first 50 and...
Philip, I know. Every time you reach into your wallet, you found bread and fish.
Peter, the loaves and fishes have multiplied in my wallet.
I don't understand what's happening.
It is a miracle, and we've taken part in it.
Do the people know what's happening?
No. They know there's bread. They pay no attention to the fact that we had nothing and never returned to a source of supply.
Feed the others and say nothing.
And the 12 passed among the people, feeding them with the food that had been blessed and broken by Jesus. And after a time they came to Jesus, and told him that all had been fed, and none remained who was hungry.
Master, it is finished.
Gather the fragments that are left over, lest they be wasted.
They obeyed his instructions, and taking baskets, they again went among the crowd, and gathered the fragments of bread. And these filled 12 baskets, besides what was left of the fishes. When the people saw this, they began to talk among themselves, and to wonder where the food had come from. And they remembered that none had come provisioned, and that 5,000 people had been picked.
This is strange. There was no food among us. I saw him bless the bit of food he had. I saw him look to heaven as if praying.
Thus they whispered among themselves. And men looked at each other in fearful silence. And thoughts formed and became words, barely formed at first. And a whisper ran through the throng.
A miracle! A miracle! A miracle!
It's a miracle!
A great prophet hath risen among us. God hath visited his people. He is indeed the prophet. He is our king.
Do you hear? They have discovered the miracle of the bread. They're excited and want to make you king.
They say that you are the prophet of the Scriptures who would take the throne of David. They demand that you declare yourself their king.
They're getting ready to march. You can be king of Israel.
Take to the ship at once and cross the sea ahead of me.
What of you, Master?
I will dismiss the crowd.
We can't leave you alone with them.
Return to Capharnaum without me.
Yes, Master.
Come, let us embark at once.
The prophet is here. The prophet who is king. Jesus is our king.
Up sails!
Can you see him?
Yes. Yes, there on the slope. He holds out his hands to the people. They no longer shout.
They're turning from him. They disperse.
Now he walks by himself up the slope.
Shouldn't we sail but a short distance and then come back for him?
No, he does not wish it.
But how will he get back to Capharnaum?
He will walk.
The ship sailed but slowly towards Capharnaum. And then the wind shifted, and the 12 had to use their oars. The wind freshened, and the waves grew higher, and darkness was over the land. And on shore, when Jesus had dismissed the crowd, he went away to the mountains to pray. And when it was late, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he was alone on the land. And in the ship, some were resting asleep, while others rowed.
Wake up, Andrew.
Huh?
Wake up.
Huh? Oh, what time is it?
Time for the fourth watch.
Where are we?
We're off course. The wind carries us south.
Philip, Andrew, look to the starboard.
What is that?
Judas, look. What do you see?
There's a light on the water.
It's a man.
No. It's ghost. It must be. It's walking over the water.
I don't like this. Would that the Master were with us. Look. It's going to walk past us.
Let's hail it.
No. It may be evil.
Ahoy on the water!
Peter, no. It may come aboard and sink us.
Oh, Peter, I'm afraid.
Take courage.
It's the Master.
It is I. Do not be afraid.
Come to us.
Wait. Be careful. This may be a trap for us. Peter, we must test him.
But how?
Call him again, Simon.
Ahoy! Lord, if it is thou, bid me come to thee over the water.
Simon, how can you be sure it's... Come. It is. It is the Master. Go to him. Look. Peter stands on the water.
Master, I come to you.
He's walking. Yes. Walking on water. Simon, he's sinking.
Turn back! Swim for the boat. Throw some cork over the side.
Master, I'm afraid. Lord
See. Jesus stretches out his hand. Simon rises out of the water and walks by his side.
Steady the boat. They wish to board us.
Master, you came just in time.
Oh, Master, forgive us our doubts.
O thou of little faith, why didst thou doubt?
Truly, thou art the Son of God.
Aye, truly, thou art the Son of God.
And they that were in the boat were far more astonished within themselves, for they understood not concerning the loaves of bread, for their heart was blinded. And presently the ship was at the land to which they were going.
How much more you, O you of little faith? Therefore do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink, or what shall we put on? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his justice, and all these things shall be given you besides.
During the next half hour, the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations have made their facilities available to the National Council of the Catholic Hour. Today, the Right Reverend Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen will deliver the third in a series of 16 addresses under the general title, One Lord, One World. And Warren Foley will direct the choir of the Church of the Blessed Sacrament, New York City, in a musical program. The choir, under Mr. Foley's direction, opens today's program with the Jesus, Joy of Man's Desiring by Johann Sebastian Bach. This evening, the Catholic Hour again presents to the radio audience the Right Reverend Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen, Associate Professor of Philosophy at the Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C. The title of Monsignor Sheen's talk is The Natural Law of God. Monsignor Sheen.
Friends, the air is full of post-war plans. But what is more important than any plan is to understand what makes one plan right and another plan wrong. Why, for example, a plan to reduce armaments rather than to increase them? Why a plan to grant freedoms to certain people rather than to enslave them? What we need to know is the basic standard by which all plans can be judged. As Juvenal of old said, quis custodiet custodes, which we might freely translate, who shall plan the planners? Upon what principle will we decide, force or morality? In answering these questions, we advance another step in our broadcast. Thus far, we have pleaded for unity among Jews and Protestants and Catholics. To break down bigotry, anti-Semitism, and anti-Christianity, we have promised to send to you, who write and ask for it, a booklet entitled Friends. Since the spirit of charity can be achieved only by prayer, we ask, too, that everyone set aside an hour a day for prayer and adoration. Catholics in particular should make this in the presence of our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament. You remember last Sunday we said that the unity among us must not be a unity of churches which would do violence to truth and to history. It must be a unity for social purposes. So now we ask what is the fundamental principle upon which Jews and Protestants and Catholics can unite? The answer is the moral law. What is the moral law? The moral law is a participation or indwelling of the eternal reason of God in nature and in man. Everything in the world is governed by law. Falling stones are governed by the law of gravitation, animals by instinct, and man by conscience. God's reason is in each of these things in a different way, directing them toward the perfection of their natures. But with man there is a difference. A stone must obey its law, but man merely ought to obey his law. A falling stone has no freedom. Its nature is determined, but man is free. Therefore, he can disobey. Every man, in other words, has a right to make a fool out of himself. Man is just as free to break the moral law of his conscience as he is free to break the law of gravitation. But in both instances, he hurts himself because he does what is unreasonable. And it is unreasonable because it is opposed to the eternal reason of God. Sin, therefore, is anti-reason. But you may ask, how does reason or conscience decide what is right and what is wrong? How can we know whether anything is good or bad? By using our reason. Our reason can investigate purposes. Everything has a purpose. Reason can discover it. A razor, for example, has a purpose, namely to shave. But if I pervert that purpose, which is discoverable by reason, and use the razor to hew a rock, not only do I not hew the rock, I even destroy the razor. So likewise, man's reason tells him that he has a purpose, namely the attainment of truth for his intellect, goodness for his will, and life for his whole being. Whatever contributes to that purpose is good. Whatever distorts it is bad. As a pencil is good for writing, for that is its purpose, and bad for opening a can, because that is not its purpose. So man is good when he fulfills the end for which God made him, the attainment of perfect life and truth and love. And he is bad when he does not. Right and wrong, therefore, are independent of our ways of thinking. Our standard is not public opinion or self-expression, but correspondence with the eternal reason of God. You cannot measure a cloth except by something that is outside the cloth. And you cannot measure moral ideas and say, for example, that our moral ideas are better than those of the Nazis, except by some law which is outside both, namely God. If morality or decency meant only what we approve, then there never could be a right or a wrong. Hence, what is the war about? What makes certain notes right on a keyboard and other notes wrong? If there's nothing but keys on the piano. What makes one person right and another wrong? If there's no law outside of himself. The rightness and wrongness of notes is determined by their correspondence to the score. In like manner, what makes our actions right is the fact that they correspond to the eternal reason of God, and that is what we mean by the moral law. But it may be asked, why treat the moral law on a national broadcast? Does not everyone believe in the moral law? Not anymore. That is why we are at war, in order to defend it. There are even some in our midst who deny the moral law. One justice of the Supreme Court, for example, writes, and I am quoting him verbatim, "The so-called immutable principles must accommodate themselves to the facts of life, for facts are stubborn and may not yield." I would like to confront this justice with one fact: the slaughter of the Jews in Germany. This is a stubborn fact. Would this justice say that the moral right of the Jews to life and freedom should give way to the stubborn facts? And if not, why not? If facts make right, then the persecution of the Jews is right. Must the immutable principles of right and wrong be changed to fit the way people live, as he says? Or must our lives be changed to fit the immutable principles of right and wrong? That is the question. And from another well-known jurist we hear, and I quote him again, "Man must no longer search for God in law. But if there is no God in law, then there is no morality. And if there is no morality, then there is only force. The force of money, which is capitalism, the force of steel, which is militarism, and the force of the masses, which is Nazism, fascism, and communism." Dr. Robert Hutchins, president of the University of Chicago, summarizing the growing repudiation of the moral law in American politics, wrote during the past year, "In law school, I learned that law was not concerned with reason or justice. Law was what the courts would do. Law, says Hitler, is what I do. There is little to choose between the doctrine I learned in an American law school and that which Hitler proclaims." That from Dr. Hutchins. Why is it that the moral law does not play a more important role in our lives? It is because we have so concentrated on the wickedness of our military enemies that we have ceased to ask ourselves if we are really living by the moral law. We lay the whole burden on Hitler. No one doubts that Hitler has indeed contributed his share. But if Hitler committed suicide tomorrow, would peace and virtue automatically follow? Because disorder reigns, someone, of course, must be blamed. And Hitler thus becomes the scapegoat who takes away the sins of the rest of the world. Evil is always put outside of us. As a result, everywhere there is hate. Hate, hate. A well-known writer in this country has suggested exterminating all the Germans. And others have asked that Hitler be put in a cage and paraded through the streets so that onlookers could hiss at him. No wonder there is anti-Semitism. No wonder there is anti-Christianity. No wonder there is bigotry. This war has taught us to despise. And in teaching us to despise has given us a feeling of moral superiority which blinds us to our infractions of the moral law. Our hate has turned this war into a defensive, negative war against barbarism. Not a positive war for moral order. Only Germany and Japan have a positive goal, a definite purpose. And it is as wicked and as evil as hell. Russia, too, knows what it wants. But that is another matter. We know what we are fighting against, But do we know what we are fighting for? Ask your fellow citizen what this war is about, and he will tell you to kill Hitler and Tojo. If he uses a slogan such as liberty, he will define it negatively in terms of freedom from these dictators. Oh, God, be good to us. Do we think that Hitler, once he is put in a cage, will be the indirect cause of our peace? Did peace come from exiling the Kaiser to a woodpile? Shall it be said of us that we are united only because we have a common hate? Do we think that victory in arms alone will save our civilization? Are we really blameless? How many of us can go to the corpse of this modern, tragic world of ours and lay our hand upon its cold flesh and say, I am innocent? We too stand in need of God's mercy and pardon, and perhaps the more so because to our country has been given the high mission and vocation of defending the rights of man, and therefore the moral law of God. We are not the creators of law. We are only its trustees. We are not the womb of freedom. We are the feeble instruments God uses to break chains that men may be free on the outside as they are already free on the inside. We are not the saviors of the world. We stand in need of salvation. This is not a war for freedom from certain dictators. It is a war to preserve the moral law of God and therefore the rights of man. Few nations have ever fought for such a noble ideal, and few nations have ever realized it so little. We are like one who might risk his life to save a child from death in traffic, and then say the reason we did it was because we hated fire engines. Our deeds are unfortunately greater than our motivations. Our slogans are so weak. The morality for which we fight is so strong. If war is not to preserve the moral law of God, then it is not worth fighting. For as St. Augustine said, banish justice and morality, and what are empires but large-scale brigandage? Would that the stirring words of Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address could be emblazoned across our skies, so that we might once more understand the meaning of a moral ideal in war. You remember these words? With malice toward none, with charity for all. Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all our nations. What are we fighting for? Lincoln said, for firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right. To preserve morality, God does not need America, or Great Britain, or Russia. It is America, Great Britain, and Russia that need God.
Monsignor Sheen has just delivered an address entitled The Natural Law of God. You may obtain a copy of Monsignor Sheen's talk by writing to the National Council of Catholic Men, Washington, D.C., or to the station to which you are now listening. During the last year of his life, Franz Schubert, wrote many of his greatest works. Among them is the setting of the benediction hymn, Tantum Ergo. Mr. Foley now directs his choristers in his own liturgical arrangement of this setting. We now invite all those listening to join Monsignor Sheen in offering up this prayer in time of war.
O Lord Jesus Christ, who in thy mercy hearest the prayers of sinners, pour forth, we beseech thee, all grace and blessing upon our country and its citizens. We pray in particular for the President, for our Congress, for all our soldiers, for all who defend us in ships, whether on the seas or in the skies, for all who are suffering the hardships of war. We pray for all who are in peril or in danger. bring us all after the troubles of this life into the haven of peace, and reunite us all together forever, O dear Lord, in thy glorious heavenly kingdom.
Next week, Monsignor Sheen will be with us again on the Catholic Hour. The subject of his talk will be the economic condition of world peace. The music will be provided by the choir of the Church of the Blessed Sacrament, New York City. The music on today's program was directed by Warren Foley. Your announcer is John Patrick Costello. The National Council of Catholic Men has presented the Catholic Hour through the facilities of the National Broadcasting Company and its independent affiliated stations, which have been made available as a public service and as a contribution to the religious life of America.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
This is the Hour of St. Francis. The strange story you will hear today is true. We give it to you in the words of Ray Ramon, the man to whom it happened.
A lot of people would call me a bum. I call myself a fisherman. I'm a good fisherman when I'm sober, but for 6 years before the June when this happened, I was drunk most of the time. Down on the Florida Keys, I was one of hundreds of men who move around there fishing and killing themselves with 90 proof. Then something happened to me that I can only call a miracle. It was my own special miracle. This is how it happened. On that day in June, 4 of us went fishing for yellowtail off the Keys. Our boat was the Golden K. Her owner, Winfred Bennett, was aboard. And besides Winfred and me, there was Miss Dorothy Sneal, the cook, and another roving fisherman named Frank Young. We were anchored 12 miles out, near Oyster Reef, when the wind started to rise. The sky turned dark at noon, and it commenced to rain in sheets. We were having a good catch, and we'd ridden out storms before. Then the Golden K started pitching like crazy. I remember standing there on the deck beside Mr. Bennett with the sea washing down on us.
Ray, we better run for it. It's getting worse all the time.
Yeah. Hey, that one must have been 20 feet high, Mr. Bennett.
Go below and get Frank. Then we'll...
Hang on. This is going to hit us broadside.
Well, that one hurt us. I can feel it.
Yeah. It feels like we're drifting.
The anchor. Check the anchor.
All right. Hey, Mr. Bennett, the anchor line snapped.
Start our engine. We're drifting toward Oyster Reef. If we hit it, we'll rip the bottom out of the boat.
Mr. Bennett.
Hang on, Dorothy. Our anchor's gone.
I can't get her started, Mr. Bennett. Look out! Look out! Hey, we're on the reef! There was a huge hole in the Golden K's port side. Water came rushing in. We all put on life jackets. Water came over the stern and up to our thighs. We grabbed a piece of line and tied ourselves together so we wouldn't get separated. When the water was up to our waist, we jumped into the sea. We pulled ourselves away from the sinking boat. After that, we could only paddle around, the salt water slapping us in the face.
Lucky the water isn't too cold.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Bennett. The squall's about over. How you doing, Frank?
Well, I won't have to take a bath tonight.
Oh, close your mouth before you swallow a fish.
Now, with a bunch of us together, it'll be easier for somebody to spot us.
Frank, how you doing?
Frank, paddle around. No going to sleep on this job. Getting a little chilly, Mr. Bennett.
So you'd think the Coast Guard or the patrol or somebody would have spotted us by now.
Yeah, they will. We're just lucky we weren't fishing in the Arctic. You think this is chilly, Frank? It's a hot shower compared to the water I jumped into once. I ever tell you about the time during the war we had to abandon ship off Iceland? There were 10 of us.
There she goes. The last of the Golden K.
Yeah. Paddle over to those planks. It helps to have something to hang on to.
Yeah. Boat or something ought to come along.
It'll have to. Well, it's all part of the game. Oh, I bet my husband won't let me set foot on the boat again. Oh!
What's the matter, Doc? Cramp?
No. Something hit my leg. Maybe it was a shark.
Oh, not any sharks in these waters. At least I never heard of any. Let's not worry about that. We got enough trouble. Mr. Bennett, we're drifting away from the reef.
The tide is pulling us out to sea.
I thought somebody would have seen us by now. We can't go on like this. We got to do something.
Now, what can we do?
We could just hold on till morning.
No, nobody's going to look for us. We told them all we were going to stay out 3 days. We're going to drown, no. And I don't want to die. I want to go home to my husband.
Dorothy, take it easy, Dorothy.
Let's face it, we can't keep this up any longer.
Maybe it'll help if we pray. Do you think we ought to pray?
I don't know how. Me neither.
Oh, no. Not me. I wasn't a praying fisherman before we hit that reef. And I'm not going to be a praying fisherman now. Dorothy started to pray anyhow. Secretly, I wished I could, too. The truth was, I had been a praying fisherman once. I thought of the time way back when I had gone to Mass and said my rosary. At least I had when I felt like it or wanted something special. Then I remembered the day I felt I'd really been abandoned by God. I was just getting over my boy dying of pneumonia. He was only 6 years old. When they had to take my wife to the hospital. Looking back now, I could see myself in that hospital room, my wife lying in the bed, me kneeling alongside, praying my heart out. There was a nursing sister in the room. She was saying her rosary. The doctor came in. He looked at my wife, and he came over to me.
Ray, I'm sorry.
What do you mean?
We did everything we could.
She can't be dead. She can't be.
I know.
You don't know. You can't. My boy died just 6 months ago, and now my wife.
Mr. Raymond, the ways of God often seem hard.
He could have made her live. He took my boy. Why couldn't he leave me her? After the way I prayed, and you too, and he didn't listen. My wife died while I was praying.
God always listens.
I'll never ask him for anything again. I swear I'll never say another prayer in my life.
Oh, don't say that. What will you ever do?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get drunk. And I'm going to stay drunk the rest of my life. This is what came back to me as I hung on to the wreckage from the Golden K. And I'd kept my word. I'd stayed drunk most of the 6 years since that day. I hadn't said one prayer, and I wasn't going to now. Then Mr. Bennett yelled above the wind.
Frank, you swim?
Not a stroke.
Dorothy, I know you don't. I can't either. Ray, do you swim?
Not unless I have to. I haven't tried it in years.
Looks like you'll have to try again.
How can he, Mr. Bennett? He's been in the water nearly 5 hours, just like the rest of us. The best swimmer in the world couldn't make it 12 miles to land in this storm.
We got to do something. Ray, will you try?
Well, it's either die here or die trying. So I start out on a swim I know I can never finish. It's a black night and the water's choppy. By the time I've swum 20 yards, I'm tired. Something pops up on the water ahead of me. It's a piece of cork. My life jacket's falling apart. It's been lying around so long it must have rotted. Then panic hits me. I strike out as hard as I can. 20 strokes and I'm beat. Then I tread water and rest. Then I try it again. 20 strokes and I'm gasping. I try something else. I count 100 strokes before I rest. Then I count every other stroke. After each one, I feel like I'll never lift my arms out of the water again. Hail Mary. I wonder where that came from. Slipped out automatically. I choke it off. I'm not going back to praying now just because I'm scared. Then I think, this is the end. I'm going to die, so what's the harm if I say a prayer now? And I'm not asking anything. I don't have any right after the last 6 years. And then a strange thing happens. I begin to talk to the Blessed Mother the way I used to, as if I'm a little boy again. And I say the old prayer again. Hail Mary, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. I remember some of the words of a hymn we used to sing down at the Fisherman's Church. Mother of Christ, Star of the sea, pray for the wanderer, pray for me. Seems she's out there just before me in the night. She's like everything I've known that was clean and beautiful and good. And I reach out for her. I keep swimming toward her in a kind of a long dream. Ahead of me, a star breaks out through a hole in the clouds. I recognize it, and I know from its position that time is past midnight. I've been in the water 7 hours, and I'm still swimming. Something hits my legs, and I think it's a barracuda. I splash frantically, but only for a second. I've no life to fight with. My head falls forward in the water. Everything goes black, and I feel myself sinking down. And then my feet touch sand. My toes dig into the bottom. Something hits me again. This time I recognize that it's seaweed. It's not barracuda. Seaweed growing offshore. And I stumble and fall through the long shallows. I'm laughing 1 minute and crying the next, and I sprawl full length on the beach. And then I pass out. I come to because somebody's shaking me by the shoulder.
Hey there. You all right? What's trouble here?
Oh. You Coast Guard?
That's right.
God. The Golden K, our fishing boat sank last night on Oyster Reef. And 3 others out there, and they can't swim.
Oyster Reef, that's 16 miles from here. We'll send out a helicopter. You mean you swam 16 miles last night in that storm?
I can't swim. I can't swim. The Coast Guard found all of them alive and got them back safely. A month later, I'm sitting on a wharf soaking up the sun when Winfred Bennett comes by and sits alongside of me. After a while, he says,
"You know, Ray, you've changed."
"Have I?"
"You on the wagon?"
"Oh, for a while."
It's funny. No man from the Keys will ever admit he stopped drinking. I think you have, though. But it's more than that. Well, I don't know, but it's sure good, Ray.
I knew what it was, but how do you tell people you haven't any wife or child, but you're not alone anymore? That's what I found out in the water. I'd given up God, but he hadn't given me up. When I thought I was praying the time my wife died, I wasn't really praying. I was trying to give God orders. Now I could see straight. He was the captain, and he had a right to set my course. What if it was mysterious? There were a lot of mysteries. The biggest one I know is how I swam 16 miles when I really can't swim at all. There's a special meaning for me now in the hymn we sing down at Fisherman's Church. Mother of Christ, Star of the Sea, pray for the wanderer. Pray for me.
This program, entitled Star of the Sea, has been brought to you by the Hour of St. Francis. For your free copy of this story and of our booklet on the life of St. Francis, the man who loved everybody, write to the Hour of St. Francis in care of the station to which you were listening. This episode of the Hour of St. Francis was based on a true story by Ray Ramon as told to John Sherrill. It was originally written for Guideposts Associated and appeared in the Los Angeles Herald Express. It was adapted for radio by Juanita Vaughn. The cast included Gigi Pearson, Howard Culver, Jack Moyles, and Patrick McGeehan. Music was by Bob Mitchell, with sound effects by Rod Sutton. Star of the Sea was produced and directed by Father Terence Cronin. This program has been brought to you by the Third Order of St. Francis.
For some time, Jesus and his disciples had been traveling in the province of Perea, which was across the river Jordan from Judea. But now the time of the Passover was close at hand, and they had turned their steps toward Jerusalem. For it was to the holy city that travelers came from near and far to observe the feast. Jericho, the next city on their journey, was not far off, but they had been on the road for some time, and it was a hot day. A short rest would be welcome. This was the major crisis in Jesus' life. He had determined to go to Jerusalem, knowing that his earthly ministry would soon come to an end. Several times before, he had told his disciples that he must one day go to Jerusalem and be put to death. His disciples had been amazed that he would take this journey, and they were greatly troubled. They did not understand that it was the will of his Father that Jesus should give his life for mankind. They were afraid of what would happen when they reached Jerusalem. And there were Simon, called Peter, and his brother Andrew, Thaddeus and Matthew, Philip, Bartholomew, and Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, and Simon the Canaanite, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and Judas Iscariot, who was soon to betray his master. For almost 3 years now they had traveled together, and Jesus had patiently taught them by word and example. But how little they had understood. He must tell them again of the events that were coming, events that would test their faith.
Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered to the chief priests and scribes. They will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit upon him, scourge him and kill him, and after 3 days he will rise.
Master, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you.
What do you want me to do for you?
Grant us one to sit at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory.
You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or to be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized?
Yes, Lord, we're able.
The cup that I drink, you will drink. And with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared.
But the other disciples were angry over this request of James and John. Why had they asked this of Jesus? Did the two brothers think they were more deserving than anyone else?
Come here, all of you. You know that those who are supposed to rule over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man also came, not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Let us continue our journey.
The city of Jericho was situated on the main road from Perea to Jerusalem, and many travelers stopped there to rest and refresh themselves. By the wayside sat a blind man named Bartimaeus, who often came to this place to beg for a few coins from the travelers.
Have mercy on the blind. What is it, friend? What is happening?
It is Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth. He is coming here with his disciples.
Jesus of Nazareth, Son of David. Blessed be the Son of David. Have mercy on me.
Be quiet, Bartimaeus.
Why do you call out? Jesus, Son of David. Have mercy on me.
Call him and bring him to me.
Take heart. Rise. Jesus is calling you.
What do you want of me?
Master, that I may receive my sight.
Receive your sight. Your faith has made you well.
Blessed be the Son of David. Thank you, Lord, for giving me my sight.
Thus it was that on his last journey to Jerusalem, Jesus stopped by the city of Jericho and showed compassion upon a blind beggar, again demonstrating the power of God. As Jesus continued his walk through Jericho, he passed by the house of a chief tax collector named Zacchaeus. Hearing the approaching crowd, he came out to see what was happening.
What is the cause of all this? Who is it that the people are welcoming?
Jesus of Nazareth. He's going to Jerusalem for the Passover.
Jesus of Nazareth? The one whom so many believed to be the promised Savior? The one who spoke kindly to sinners? He, Zacchaeus, was a sinner. He had become rich at the expense of others. If only he could catch a glimpse of Jesus, or hear a few words from him. But Zacchaeus was a small man, and the crowd was close about Jesus. And then he thought of a sycamore tree, under which Jesus must pass. If he hurried, he could reach the tree before Jesus did, climb up into its branches, and so be able to see Jesus when he passed under it. So great was his desire to see the Savior who had brought peace to so many sinners, that Zacchaeus, even though he was a prominent man of wealth, gave no thought to his unusual act.
Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for I must stay at your house today.
Zacchaeus made haste and came down. Indeed, the Lord had called him by his name. More than that, Jesus was willing to be the guest of a despised tax collector. He must hurry and make the master welcome. Filled with joy, Zacchaeus did the bidding of the Lord and took him right to his house. But the people did not understand this action of Jesus. They said, "He has gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner." They thought it strange that such a great teacher. The disciples were quite weary after their long journey and had been glad to accept his hospitality, for his was a comfortable home. Zacchaeus, after being in close contact with Jesus, truly desired forgiveness for his sinful past. And he wanted to show Jesus that he was ready to live a new life.
Behold, Lord, half of my goods I will give to the poor. And if I have cheated anyone of anything, I will pay it back fourfold.
Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save that which was lost.
And thus, after Jesus had rested in Jericho, he and his followers continued their journey to Jerusalem. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, people were gathering for the Passover. And in the temple court, men were discussing the coming events. And some of them wondered whether Jesus would come or not.
What do you think? Will Jesus come for the feast?
Who knows? When he was here before, the Pharisees and chief priests sought to have him arrested.
Yes. And now they've sent word if he should come here secretly, and anyone knows where he is, he should inform the chief priests so that they can take him.
If he does come, there'll be a lot of excitement. For no doubt, he will defy the Pharisees again.
Now Jesus and his followers were approaching the villages of Bethphage and Bethany, two small towns very close to Jerusalem. And when they reached the mount that is called Olivet, Jesus paused to send two of his disciples on an errand.
Go into the village opposite, where on entering you will find a colt tied on which no one has ever yet sat. Untie it and bring it here. And if any man should ask you, why are you untying it, you shall say this: the Lord has need of it.
We will do so, Master.
As the two disciples went on their errand, they wondered why Jesus would want an animal at this time. Nevertheless, they hastened to do as he had instructed. When the disciples entered the village, they found the colt as they had been told. Although the owner questioned their actions, he readily accepted their explanation and gladly let them lead the animal away. As the group of followers saw the two disciples return with the colt, the significance of the event began to dawn on them, and their joy and enthusiasm could not be repressed.
Oh, hey, hands in the king! 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 Hail the Lord! Hail to the Prince of Heaven!
Jerusalem, would that even today you knew the things that make for peace. But now they are hidden from your eyes. For the day shall come upon you when your enemies will throw up a bank about you and surround you and hem you in on every side and dash you to the ground, you and your children with you. And they will not leave one stone upon another in you, because you did not know the time of your visitation.
Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Hail to the King! Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Make praise, hail to the King! Hail to the King! In the name of the Lord.
The faithful had come to Jerusalem from all over the country to observe the feast of the Passover, which would begin in a few days. Families would gather together to praise God and to give thanks for the time centuries before when the people of Israel had been freed from Egyptian slavery. On this day, they heard a joyful shouting in the distance. What could this mean? Who was coming?
Who is it? Who is coming? What's all the excitement about? He is a prophet, Jesus of Nazareth from Galilee.
Yes, now they welcome him as a king. But in a few short days, many of them would turn against him and join the leaders in clamoring for his death. Jesus went up to the temple, and many people brought to him the blind and the lame, and he healed them. But there were also the priests and scribes who resented what Jesus did because they were envious of his popularity with the people.
Hosanna to the Son of David. Hosanna to the Son of David. Hosanna to the Son of David. Hosanna to the
Do you hear what these children are saying? Have you never read, out of the mouths of babes and sucklings thou hast brought perfect praise?
And so to all his followers, Jesus demonstrated a life of love and humility. He gave sight to the blind Bartimaeus. He transformed the heart of Zacchaeus, and he blessed all others who had faith. But many would not accept him. Many did not understand that the one in their midst was truly God's only Son, man's only Savior. On the Mount of Olives, outside the city of Jerusalem, Jesus, the promised Savior, was talking to 4 of his disciples, to Peter and Andrew, James and John. He told of the day when Jerusalem would be destroyed, and that soon he must leave them, but that he would come again.
Master, when will this be? What will be the sign when this is about to take place?
Be careful that you are not led astray. For many will name, saying, I yours, do not be afraid. For this must first take place, but the end will not be at once.
What will be the sign of the end, Lord?
The end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be great earthquakes and famines in many places. And before all this, they will lay their hands on you and will persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and prisons. You will be brought before governors and kings for my name's sake.
In that hour, Master, what shall we say?
Do not be anxious beforehand what you shall say. When the time comes, you will be given wisdom which none of your enemies will be able to withstand or contradict.
What shall become of our families and friends in these days, Lord?
You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, kinsmen and friends. And some of you they will put to death. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake. But not a hair of your head shall perish. By your patience, you will gain your souls.
Jesus spoke to them for a long time, telling them of things that would come to pass, speaking in parables, seeking to prepare his disciples for the tragedy of his death and for carrying on his work after his departure. He warned them always to be on watch, for no man knew when the Son of Man would come again. A short time later, after Jesus had finished all his sayings and parables, he was again gathered together with his disciples.
You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified.
Jesus knew that what had been foretold in the Scriptures must soon come to pass. The number of Jesus' followers was increasing with each passing day. As they gathered about him, they were held by the truth and warmth of his words. Among them were some of the temple rulers who were afraid that this man might destroy their leadership of the people. Totally unaware of Jesus' prediction of his own death, the priests and Pharisees who had gathered with the high priest Caiaphas were greatly alarmed by the reports of the activities of Jesus.
You have heard how this rabble-rouser continues to speak against us, calling us wicked and adulterous.
I say it is time we put a stop to the doings of this false prophet. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe him.
And the Romans will come and destroy both our holy place and our nation.
You know nothing at all. You do not understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, rather than the whole nation perish.
But how can we take him? He's always surrounded by the people, and we cannot risk their anger.
We must find a time when he is away from the people.
Even so, how can we possibly know of this in time to act when he is not in Jerusalem?
The Passover is not far off, and he surely will come here for the feast. What do you think, Caiaphas?
If he does come, then we must make every effort to find out where and how he might be taken alone.
So from that day on, they took counsel how they might put Jesus to death. But they knew they must take him secretly when he was not with the multitude of his followers. Sometime later, in Bethany, Jesus and his disciples were having supper with a number of other guests in the house of a man known as Simon the leper. It was not far from where, a short time before, Jesus had raised Lazarus from the dead. Lazarus himself was among the guests who were being served by Martha, Lazarus' sister, who had been so joyful at her brother's resurrection. Then Mary, Lazarus' other sister, also came in. She too had been devoted to Jesus for some time, and she welcomed this opportunity to show her love for the Savior. In those days, it was the custom to anoint the head or feet of a distinguished guest with precious oils and ointments. This was a gesture of respect and love, and Mary felt that she could do no less for her Savior. Among those present was Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, who was very much displeased by Mary's action.
Why such a waste? This ointment might have been sold for a large sum, and the money given to the poor.
Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done a fine thing for me. The poor you have always with you, and whenever you will, you can do good to them. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for burying. And truly I say to you, wherever the gospel is preached in the whole world, what she has done will be told in memory of her.
Actually, Judas was not at all concerned with the poor. Being a greedy man, he would have liked to see the ointment sold, and the money from it put into the disciples' fund for the poor. Since he was in charge of the fund, he could have done with it as he wished. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, the high priest had called another meeting of the rulers of the temple for the purpose of plotting Jesus' death. And at the very same time that the rulers of the temple were plotting, Judas Iscariot was making his way from Bethany toward Jerusalem. By then, Judas' mind was filled with evil thoughts. Hungry for money, Judas was now thinking of a plan to gain his own ends. And so, having decided upon a plan, Judas was more determined than ever to see the priests of the temple. There, the discussion over Jesus was still going on. So far, all their attempts to trick Jesus had failed, but they were still trying to find some way to trap him. But just then, a guard came in to tell the high priest, Caiaphas, that there was a man outside who wanted to see him about a matter of great importance. After presenting himself to Caiaphas, Judas began to explain the reason for his visit. But some of the rulers of the temple wondered why this man should have been invited into the council chamber, and they were curious to know the reason for this interruption.
This man is Judas Iscariot, follower of Jesus of Nazareth. He tells me that he will see to it that Jesus falls into our hands.
will you give me if I deliver him to you?
What do you think is a good price to offer this man?
We should offer him enough.
30 pieces of silver is the price of a slave.
That is a goodly sum.
Let us pay him now and bind the bargain.
We will pay you 30 pieces of silver. Prepare 30 pieces of silver. This man, Jesus, has stirred up the people from Galilee to Jerusalem with his false teachings. He will do a great service by helping us to rid the nation of this false prophet. You must watch for an opportunity. Be careful. He has many followers, and it would be dangerous if they turned against us. He must be taken in the absence of the people.
Now the priests would not have to search for a way to take Jesus prisoner. The way had been brought to them. It was with great satisfaction that they watched Judas leave. Now he was a puppet in their hands, and they had but to await the right moment. So the bargain was made. For 30 pieces of silver, one of his own disciples was ready to betray the Son of God into the hands of his enemies. And his disciples were gathered for the Passover. This was the last meal they were to have together. One of the group, Judas Iscariot, left the room and was now on his way to the chief priests and elders. He knew that when the supper was over, Jesus and the disciples would go to a garden called Gethsemane. 2 days before the supper, Judas had gone to the priests and elders and made a bargain with them to betray Jesus. Now he had come to tell them that the time was at hand and that he would lead them to Jesus. The supper being over, Jesus led his disciples toward the Mount of Olives just outside the city wall, where to the Garden of Gethsemane they had often come for prayer and meditation.
Sit there while I go yonder and pray.
This was the night in which Jesus was sorely tried. Taking with him Peter and James and John, Jesus began to be troubled and filled with great sorrow.
My soul is very sorrowful, even unto death. Remain here and watch with me.
So, going a little farther away from them, Jesus began to pray.
My Father, If it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt.
In the meanwhile, Peter, John, and James, not fully aware of their master's suffering, had already fallen asleep.
Simon Peter, you are asleep. Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you do not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
For the second time, Jesus went away from them to pray. This time, he spoke as though the words were torn from his heart.
Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. My Father, if this cup cannot pass unless I drink it, then thy will be done.
Again, Jesus came back and found them sleeping. So, leaving them once more, he went away and prayed for the third time, repeating the same words, pouring out his heart to God, begging his heavenly Father, "O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done." But at this same moment, on a road to the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas and his band had almost reached their destination. Having prayed for the third time, Jesus once more returned to his disciples.
Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Behold, the hour is at hand. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. My betrayer is at hand.
The one I shall kiss is the man. Take him and lead him away safely.
Hail, Master. Master.
Judas, will you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? Whom do you seek?
Jesus of Nazareth.
I am he.
When he said to them, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground.
Whom do you seek?
Jesus of Nazareth.
I have told you that I am he. Then if you seek me, let these men go their way.
Lord, shall we strike with a sword?
Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup which the Father has given me?
In his anger, Peter cut off the ear of Malchus, the servant of the high priest. But Jesus touched his ear and healed him.
All who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you day after day in the temple, you did not lay hands upon me. But this is your hour, and the power of darkness.
And so, Jesus of Nazareth was betrayed by one of his own disciples, arrested by the officers of the high priests, and led away to be tried. But these things were done that the scriptures might be fulfilled. Hiding in the shadows of the garden, Judas watched the guards lead Jesus away. And now that it was done, he began to think about the events of the past few moments. Somehow he had a feeling that if Jesus had wanted to, he could have gone free. Had not the guards been struck by some unseen power? Had they not fallen to the ground when Jesus had said who he was? What would they do with him? Perhaps he'd better follow along and see what would happen next. Back in Jerusalem, Judas wondered where they had taken Jesus. Perhaps if he were careful, he might overhear some news. He learned that Jesus had been taken to the house of Annas, one of the priests. From there, they had taken him before the high council for examination. As he walked about the city, awaiting new developments, he heard others talking about the event. By then, Jesus had been sent to Pilate, the Roman governor. Later on, he heard that he had been sent to Herod the king, who had refused to pass judgment and had sent Jesus back to Pilate. It seemed that all Jerusalem was astir with the news. He must hurry to Pilate's palace and see for himself. In Pilate's courtyard, an unruly crowd, urged on by the priests, had gathered to demand the death of Jesus. Here Judas again saw the man he had followed. Suddenly, as though blotting out everything else, the sorrowful figure of his former master was stamped on his mind. Judas felt his heart grow cold within him. He had done this. His betrayal had brought Jesus to this plight. But this was not the end. He felt suffocated. The roaring crowd seemed to close in upon him. He must get away.
I have sinned and betrayed innocent blood.
What has that to do with us? See to it yourself.
I have betrayed innocent blood.
Since this silver is blood money, it's unlawful to return it to the treasury. We will buy a potter's field with it.
For the Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born.
And Judas the betrayer went out and hanged himself.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The eternal life.
The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Life. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today is Morton Wishengrads' The Tender Grass, a fantasy for the festival of Passover. Alexander Scurby is the narrator, and the part of Shalom is played by Juano Hernandez.
There are so many questions that no one ever asks, like, how is April, and when does the nighttime sleep? I like such questions. They are rounder than gladness and very important. No one thinks of that. I will ask you a question. Suppose once upon a time there was a boy who never was, and who lived in a story that never happened. And perhaps he cried a long time because he wanted you to hear the story that never happened. Wouldn't it be terrible to let him cry? Isn't that important? I think so. I will tell you his story. Shalom means peace, and Shalom was his name. But there were bad things in his heart. Once upon a never time, when the forest ferns were lit by the moon and the rain was hiding from April, this boy Shalom found a bird's nest which had fallen from a tree. And in the nest were 7 little birds who did not know how to fly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Little boy, count me. I'm the 7th.
Where's your mother?
We lost her someplace. You should be home sleeping.
Oh, I don't like this sleep. That's none of your business.
Little boy, I don't like you.
You're ugly.
Please put me back in the nest.
You have an ugly voice.
You're hurting my wing.
Your wing is ugly.
Please put me down. Little boy, why are you staring at me?
I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like your brothers. I don't like your sisters. Shut up. I said shut up. All of you shut up. I'll make you shut up.
He took each of the 7 little birds, and he tore out each of the 7 little tongues. There was no sound left. Nothing except the sound of nothing. And the boy went home to grow a day older. The mother bird flew back, and a neighbor bird told her what had happened. Then all the crickets beat their breasts, and the wind whimpered, and the animals of the forest began to cry, because 7 little birds would never sing. And all the birds of the forest flew to the top of the mountain where the great lone eagle lived. The birds of the forest sat as a court, and the eagle was judge.
Let the mother bird speak.
When the hay is mown and the tender grass showeth itself, and the herbs of the mountains are gathered in, all creation will sing, but my children will be mute.
Let the neighbor bird who witnessed this thing give her testimony.
None calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity.
What shall be done with the boy Shalom? What is his punishment? Let the raven speak.
The hand that did the deed, it shall be cut off.
Let the woodlark speak.
The feet that led him to the forest, let the feet be seared as with a fire.
I wish to hear the judgment of the owl.
Brothers and sisters, the injury was done by 1 against 7. Let retribution therefore fall upon 7.
The owl is wise. I pronounce the judgment of the bird. He shall grow to manhood. He shall take a wife. He shall procreate 7 sons. Let them be born soundless, mute, to utter no intelligible sound, to speak no single word, to sing never, never to sing a song.
Time has no tongue to tell the time, but a little boy can grow. And how does a boy grow? It is another important question. He breathes air he does not see, he drinks water which has no color of color, and he hears a conscience which has no shape. This is growing, and this is how Shalom grew. The tender grass came many times to April, and many times there was a sound in his nighttime as of little birds crying, and then nothing. Forgetting is also nothing. So nothing for Shalom was forgetting, and he no longer heard the cry of the birds. Shalom was a man who had forgotten the boy. He married. He had 7 sons, Shalom and Shulamith, and 7 speechless sons.
Shulamith, it is the 10th day of the month of Nisan. In 5 days it will be Passover.
Please, Shalom, don't. Not all over again. Not this year.
I wish to speak with my sons.
Please, Shalom.
On the Passover, the youngest child speaks the 4 questions. I will teach it to them, at least to one of them.
Shalom, you know it is of no avail.
Shulamith, bring them.
Children, come here. Your father wants to speak to you.
You may sit down. Soon it will be the Passover. The table will be spread. We shall eat unleavened bread and tell the story of Israel redeemed from Egypt. You understand? You understand also that one of you, at least one of you, must help us begin the service of the feast. You must sing, Ma nishtano halaylo hazeh mikol halaylos. Why has this night been made to differ from all other nights of the year? It is prescribed. You must sing it. One of you must.
You're raising your voice, Shalom.
Forgive me, children. You are not to blame. I will sing it for you. In the name of God, please try to sing it. Ma nishtano halaylo hazeh mikol halaylos. Now, Sing it with me. Manistano halaylo hazeh mikol halaylos.
Shalom, they carry the melody splendidly.
I don't want the melody. I want the words. Sing it again. Sing the words.
Shalom, why do you torment yourself? It isn't any use. It will never be any use.
They have harmed no one. Shulamith, why were they afflicted?
I don't know. When the Lord smote the Egyptians, he punished only the firstborn. Who can explain this, Shalom? Can you? Can I? Can anyone?
The Passover came, for it always comes, and it may not be held back. And the 7 sons of Shalom sang with the muted singing that has never found words. And hearing them, Shalom thought he heard the crying of birds from a great distance, dimly, sweetly, with the sadness of lost memory. And he was troubled and did not know why he was troubled. Then Shalom broke the middle cake of unleavened bread, and he lifted the matzo for all to see, and spoke the immemorial invitation to the stranger.
This is the bread of affliction which our forefathers ate in the land of Egypt. Let those who are hungry enter and eat with us. Let those who are forlorn come and celebrate the Passover with us.
Shalom?
I thought I heard it too.
There was a stranger at the door, a beggar. They made him welcome and gave him a place at the festal table.
Won't you continue with the service? I see my presence embarrasses you. Perhaps I should go.
Oh, no, stay. Please stay. We have very little, but you are welcome to all we have.
Oh, thank you. You have reached the 4 questions.
Yes.
With 7 fine sons like these, you are blessed 7-fold.
My sons do not sing.
It is not necessary to sing. The questions may be spoken.
I said my sons do not sing.
Shalom. Excuse him, please. Our children were born without the gift of tongue. They are mutes.
Forgive me, I did not mean to add to your pain. I am a beggar. I am older than you. I am younger than you. Let me sing for your youngest son. Please?
It will make us very happy.
The voice of the beggar was the voice of the never old. In the house of Shalom there was such singing that Passover as to make the angels envy. And the voices of the 7 children were like the young birds in the forest, wordless yet filled with a strange joy. Silently Shalom relinquished his place at the head of the table, and the beggar took his place. It was something inevitable, preordained, wonderful. The meal progressed. The questions, the answers, the parables, the digressions, so new and yet so timeless. And always the singing.
Shulamith, you do not sing?
It is so strange, Shalom. I cannot sing. I'm suffocated with happiness. I want only to listen.
Shulamith, I feel the same way. Who is he? Shulamith, he was sent to us. Why? Shulamith, there are birds singing.
Well, I I cannot hear them.
Oh, distinctly. Shulamit, can't you hear them? There are birds singing, all the birds of creation. Why are they singing? What does it mean?
מגדול ישוע מלכו ויוסף אסדלים שיבו לדוד ולזרעו עד עולם.
I hear a flapping of wings, a flapping of 100 million wings. Shulamit, what are they trying to say to me?
Shalom, you have taken too much wine. There are no wings.
There are, Shulamit, and I have barely sipped the wine. I hear wings.
And then a curious thing happened. Shulamit took the cup reserved for Elijah the prophet, the cup prescribed by custom. She filled it with wine and set it on the table. And then the candles, which had been guttering, burst into terrible flame. Magical and terrible was the light in the room, and Shulamit shielded her eyes against the light, and Shalom and the speechless children of Shalom. Behold, the goblet of Elijah the prophet was drained dry, and the beggar was gone. A miracle of the Passover in the house of Shalom. Do the hallelujahs rise from those who have gone down in silence? Only the living praise the Lord. Shalom and his children lifted up their eyes, and they praised the Lord for the presence of Elijah the prophet, Elijah the Tishbite, Elijah of Gilead, Elijah the Enigma, the messenger of God, the bringer of redemption, the beloved of man. The Passover was gone. The moons waxed, the moons waned. The sun climbed his ladder by day and came down the steps by night. An owl hooted in the forest, a locust shrilled in the field, and the year turned again to the day when the hay is mown and the tender grass showeth itself, and the herbs of the mountains are gathered in. And the man Shalom, who had lost remembrance of the boy Shalom, came into the field with his 7 sons who were without speech.
Children, do you hear them? There must be a nest. Careful, do not tread on it. Gently, gently. 7 little fledglings, and their wings have been broken. Who could have done such a thing? Children, carry them home. We must help the birds. We must make them strong. We must heal them. We must help them to fly. They are God's creatures. They must fly above the earth into the open firmament of heaven. Carry them gently, children.
I am pleased with you, children. So is your father.
Yes, you have made the birds well.
Children, they are thanking you. Shalom, open the window and let them fly away. Children, you do not mind. I'm glad. Our house is not for birds.
God created man on the 6th day, but on the 5th day he created these. Children, I open this window for them. It is no longer a window. It is the door to the 5th day.
Who opens the door to any day? Who heals the night and pledges the rain? Who numbers the gossamer of the spider's web and drops down the dew into the cup? And the rabbit startled in the hedge and gave no answer, and the dog's star blazed in the southern sky and kept his silence, while by meadow stiles the purple flowers smoldered into bloom and would not speak. Shalom. The word means peace, and peace was the name of Shalom, and Shulamith was his wife. They came again to the Passover, but the new had become old, and the old was as new. For Elijah the prophet spoke to the raven, and the raven spoke to the owl. The owl held conversation with the woodlark, and the eagle sent forth the herald birds to make a convocation upon a mountain. And all this on the Passover. Yes, of course, it had to be. That is the best thing about a story that never happened. The end of it is foreseen and always good. Once again the eagle spoke upon the mountain.
For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Yea, they have all one breath. Does my brother the raven wish to speak?
I wish to say that gentleness allayeth great offenses.
Spoken well. What does the woodlark say?
If the eagle does not object, I yield to the owl.
Modesty is becoming. The owl will speak if he is ready.
We sat upon a mountaintop once, far removed from men, and we judged that judgment. Now let us unjudge the judgment, seeing that it is come to the season of Passover, a day of liberty. Freedom gave birth to the Passover, and Passover gave birth to freedom. There are 7 sons who wait. Let them be told.
The owl, as usual, is wise. A bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. I instruct the raven to carry the news to his old friend Elijah the prophet.
You have come again?
Yes. Wherever it is the Passover, Elijah must now go. To each house, to each table, to each place where there is reverence and song.
Look, the birds remember my sons. You never would have thought their wings were broken once.
We are about to make a blessing over the Passover wine.
Oh, yes, of course. I have forgotten my duties to my guest. Shulamith, fill the goblet of the prophet Elijah and let him sing the Kiddush in the house of Shalom.
Children, stand around. Your tongues may never be able to speak it, but let your eyes see and your ears hear how Elijah the Tishbite sings the Kiddush on the Passover.
Averi moranan v'rabonan v'rabosai Baruch atov Adoshem Elokeinu melech olam Borei peri hagofen.
Shulamith, you heard? They spoke. Please say that you heard it also.
I heard it, Shalom. They spoke. And their first word was Amen.
I shall tell you a secret. I said to you that this was a story that never happened. But that wasn't true, was it? Of course it happened. It happened long, long ago in a place called Anywhere. You do not remember it, of course, because it happened before your day, when time was a zero and the first bird fledged. So, tomorrow evening, when the Passover table is spread with fine matzo and the wine is in the cup, and the Father sits at the head of the table, you and I, we shall sing. without any doubt, we shall sing Erchord mi Judea. It's a fine song. Listen to the words. Who knows the answer to one? I know the answer to one. One is the Lord our God, on earth and in heaven above.
If you would like a free copy of today's script, write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now, we present Rabbi Morris Goldstein of Congregation Shereth Israel of San Francisco. Speaking from San Francisco, Rabbi Goldstein.
The delightful fantasy to which we have now listened is fashioned from the ever-hopeful theme of a Passover festival and the unforgettable melodies characteristic of it. In this well-told tale, we witness the evil done by mischief and cruelty, but also the redeeming role of kindness and compassion. Is not this the story of all of life? Is there any one of us who can say that he or she has not caused hurt to someone at some time, expressed some prejudice, committed some act of ill will? There is a way to atone. Do good, love mercy, be true and helpful and just, especially to those who have been injured. This, which applies to personal and individual matters, applies equally to the affairs of the world. Pathetic as little birds with broken wings is the plight of entire populations in hate-infested, war-torn lands. Passover, the festival of freedom, bids us come to their rescue. True, they have been liberated from political and military enslavement. Now must we do all in our power to free them from the bondage of hunger, homelessness, and hurt. Let the people of Israel reenact the Seder observance of Passover tomorrow evening with all its impressive ritual and playful charm. The Seder appeal is particularly to the hearts of the young in spirit, to those who retain within the soul an appreciation for song, drama, rich symbolism, and imaginative story. Let the children enjoy their full share of participation. But above all, be sure the spirit of Elijah is present, the hope for a happier world, and our part in making that hope come true.
Thank you, Rabbi Goldstein. The Eternal Light is written by Morton Wishengrad. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Cadens. Cantor Robert H. Siegel was the soloist. The narrator of today's story was Alexander Scurby, and Juano Hernandez was featured as Shalom. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Pack.
Unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's script is entitled, When I Think of Seraya, and in its original form was an address delivered by Rabbi Milton Steinberg before a rally of the United Jewish Appeal. Now, we present Morton Wishengrad's radio adaptation of When I Think of Seraya, and featuring Alexander Scooby as the narrator.
I have been thinking a great deal of late about Seraya. What, you will ask, is Seraya? Seraya is a village situated in the Lithuanian county of Suwalki, just to the east of the old German frontier. And, to paraphrase Hamlet, and what is Seraya to me or I to Seraya? Seraya, as it happens, is where my father was born. It's where my family comes from. These are the words of the 91st Psalm. Thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flieth by day, of the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor of the destruction that wasteth at noonday. I say I've been thinking of Seraya of late. I cannot think of all of Europe's Jews, the 6 million dead, the 1.5 million walking skeletons. I cannot think of them. Such numbers are too large for me to embrace. The anguish they represent too vast for my comprehension. And so I think of Seraya instead. You also. You have a Seraya. Was your Seraya in England? Was it in Hungary or France or the Netherlands? Was it Poland or Italy? Or Germany? Yes, you too. You have a Seraya. It is the place of your origin, of your father's origin, of your grandfather's. It's the place from which your distant forebears set out for the New World. Let me then speak to you of Seraya, and do you, as I speak, translate its equivalent into your own life. I say to you, lay hold of the agony of Europe today, because it is your agony. Make real for yourself the largest tragedy in all recorded time, because it is your tragedy. I never saw Seraya. I was born in America. And yet, never having seen it, I know Seraya. I know it from the stories of my father. I know it from the kind of people it produced. I know that it was poor and that it was small, and that what it lacked in size, it made up for in poverty.
What is for supper today?
Black bread and herring brine.
What is for supper tomorrow?
Black bread and herring brine.
And what is for the day after?
Black bread and herring brine.
Oh, yes, Seraya was poor. Its houses were ramshackle, its streets unpaved. It had its limitations, Seraya did. But it had its virtues also.
Little boy, sing this way. Learn the alphabet, little boy. Here are the letters. Sing this way. Comets Aleph O, comets baseball, comets Dalet Do.
There were schools in Seraya, and there was learning, and reverence for learning. Bread might be scarce there, but not books. That village of near beggars supported a system of universal schooling. When I think of Seraya, I think of that. What is more, the townspeople, as befitted disciples of the prophets and rabbinic sages, had a sense of justice. A sense of justice so keen that, according to an ancient practice, anyone who had been wronged was entitled to interrupt the public worship.
Brothers, I ask for a suspension of the service.
What is your reason?
Wages are claimed by my employees. I believe that full payment has been made, and that they injure my good name by their assertion.
State your grievance. The service will be resumed later.
And until the inequity had been righted and justice done, the congregation held the service suspended. That was according to ancient practice. When I think of Seraya, I think of that. And it was a merciful place. The poorest of Seraya, even those who themselves lived on alms, gave something regularly for sweet charity's sake.
Reb Meyer, my halfpenny for the Passover fund.
And this philanthropy was not merely formal. It sprang rather from spontaneous compassion, from
Tsar Balechaim, the pain of all living things. Tsar Balechaim. Do you understand that? The pain of all living things. That is why I give.
When I think of Seraya, I think of that. And all of that now, all of that is gone. For now the Jewish part of Seraya is wiped out, expunged. Seraya is no more. The old synagogue where my ancestors for uncounted generations worshipped God, it is gone. The academy where my father studied is gone. The books Seraya composed and treasured, for which it dreamed and scrimped and saved, gone into ashes. Even the cemetery where my forefathers sleep, gone. And as for its Jews, men, women, children, some saints, some sinners, some learned and some untutored, some wise and some foolish,
but all eager to live, all undeserving of the fate which overtook them. I do not want to think of them. Especially, I do not want to think of how most of them were done to death. Psalm. O thou that dwellest in the covert of the Most High and abidest in the shadow of the Almighty, I will say of the Lord, tell me, what shall I say of the Lord? And what shall I say to him? I ask you, what shall I say and think and remember? I tell you again, I do not want to think of the Jews of Seraya. I do not want to think of how most of them were done to death. Yet think of them I must. For some of those Jews still live. How many? I don't know. No one knows. Perhaps no one ever will know. But there are probabilities and presumptions on which one can calculate.
In Seraya before the war, there were 2,000 Jews in all.
We have learned, however, that the Jews in small towns fared much worse than those in the cities. They were much more easily detected and apprehended.
Their opportunities for concealment were fewer.
Let us, however, be optimists. Let us say that of the 2,000 Jews in Seraya, as many as 20 came through alive.
Those 20 Jews haunt me. In the first place, I cannot figure out why they are they and I am I. Through what merit of mine am I safe, secure, light in heart whenever I watch my wife going about her household duties or hear my children laugh as they play? And what was their offense that the 20 who survive are cold now, and naked now, and hungry now, and haunted by horror? I simply cannot puzzle out what sin they committed so horrible as to merit the torments meted out to them. To look on while one's wife disappears into a death train or a gas chamber, to see one's children spitted on bayonets, or to ponder their slow starvation, their bellies waxing great with bloatedness, their arms and legs turning matchstick thin, their bodies growing feeble with lassitude, until life and death can no longer be told apart. This is what haunts me. The thought that there, but for the grace of God and the capricious decision made by my father, but in any case through no virtue of mine, there go I. There my wife. There my children.
Mizmor LeDavid, Ad Hashem Ro.
Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm of David. Allow him to sing the 23rd psalm. Allow the words for my morbid vagary. For when I think of Seraya, I reflect that of the 20 who may survive, perhaps some of them may be my own remote kin. Who knows? Perhaps they bear the names common in my family. The Samuel to which my father answers. The Shraga or Philip of one of my American cousins. The Jonathan of my son. What is more, being kin to me, they may actually resemble the members of my family. Perhaps one of them is short, limpid-eyed, and gentle like my father. Perhaps there's a little girl, fair-haired and as blue-eyed and delicate as my Aunt Sarah was said to have been in her childhood, as her little American granddaughter Alice is today. That is why these Jews haunt me. I know them. I know their lot. After all, are they not flesh of my flesh and blood of my blood? 20 out of 2,000 are still alive. If a word so suggestive of joy, vigor, and hope can be applied to human wreckage.
20 out of 2,000.
A few are in Salzburg in the American zone of occupation.
Several in Bergen-Belsen in the British zone.
1 or 2 are in Italy.
1 or 2 are in France.
1 is in Siberia.
And 1 has even found his way to Shanghai.
And only yesterday, a strange wonder occurred. 2 Jews of Seraya, wandering the streets of the internment camp at Theresienstadt, unexpectedly came face to face.
Merciful God, are you still alive? Why are you crying? I know. A familiar face. You are my familiar face, and I am yours.
But the dispersion of the townspeople of Seraya is the least of their ruin. Not one of them is sound in body. The starvation that wasted their frames, the torture that ulcerated their stomachs, the terror that poisoned their kidneys and hardened the arteries of their brain and heart, that rotted the teeth out of their mouths, these are still upon them. Go and see. See the 6-year-old incapable of walking, the 10-year-old a baby in structure. Nor is any of them rosy-cheeked, unless it be with the flush of consumption. Only 1 or 2 of them are actually insane. But every one of them is at least touched with madness, and some cannot sleep for the terrors that come in dreams by night. Not one of them has a single garment beyond the rags on his back, the broken shoes and burlap wrappings on his feet.
What possessions do you carry?
Nothing.
Do you have a scarf, a coin, a watch, a fountain pen? Do you have anything?
Nothing.
Have you a home?
No.
A shop?
No.
Do you have a newspaper to read?
No home, no shop, no newspaper to read, no prayer book from which to worship God, no calendar to tell which days are the Sabbaths and which are the holy days, no synagogue in which to pray.
Mention anything pertaining to life and the graces of life, and they do not have it. When I think of Seraya, I think of that. Of the 20 survivors of Seraya, 3 want to go back.
You can't stay in an internment camp forever.
I don't know. Perhaps in Seraya. Perhaps I'll find my mother or my uncle or one of my cousins.
I had a little shop. Maybe it still stands. I don't want charity. Maybe my shop still stands.
In Seraya, there are still things to do, aren't there? Maybe I have to go back in order to be a reminder of something. Maybe it will make them ashamed. Maybe they will remember never help to do it again. Because, you know, they did help.
Besides, Seraya is home.
And so they are on the move again. A tottering old woman from Switzerland. A man from Lublin. A girl from a camp in Germany. Half labor camp and half brothel. And who will maintain them on the way? Who will give them provender and protection from Polish anti-Semites whom the Polish government has admittedly been unable to suppress, and Lithuanian anti-Semites whom not even the Soviet army has brought to heel? Who? And in Seraya, when they find home gone, shop gone, books, tools, friends, brothers, family, synagogue, all gone, and not 10 Jews left to form the minyan of the prayer service, who will stand with them? Of Seraya's Jews, 17 will not go back to Seraya. They have their reasons.
There is nothing that remains. I cannot return to nothing.
My neighbors joined with the Nazis against me. I cannot return to my neighbors.
I cannot return to Seraya because the streets cry aloud of murder and rape and torture.
I won't go back. I'm tired of defending myself, tired of apologizing for myself. I can't go back.
I can't either. I'm still a boy. Maybe there's a chance for me, a chance to lead a normal life. It isn't in Seraya.
Of these 17, 3 have set their hearts on America. But only one will be so fortunate as to be admitted here. But one will come. And for that one, you must be prepared. When I think of Seraya, I think of that one. There is a humor even on the gallows. So let us have our joke. Perhaps one of the 17 entered the office of a travel bureau and asked for a steamship ticket. It's a normal thing to enter a travel bureau and ask for a ticket.
A ticket for where?
I wish I could answer. What's that?
That's a globe of the whole world. Take a look at it. Spin it around. Make your choice. Well, have you found what you want?
A moment more, please. I'm studying the countries and the continents.
Well, my friend?
I hope you'll excuse me, sir, but have you anything else to offer?
Yes, have you anything else to offer? But 14 out of the 20 do not ask the question. They will go to one place only, to the land of their fathers, the place where refuge was promised to them by the nations of the world, to the land of Israel, the Jewish homeland, Eretz Yisrael. Some will go because there is literally no other place on earth for them. Others will go because Palestine is the only place where they are really wanted. Others will go because of the dream. Zion reborn in the land where Judaism is incarnated. Observe, I do not say that they want to go to Palestine. I say they are going to Palestine. They will go because they must go, because the alternative is slow death, because the right will not be forever denied. They will get through because they are going home. And they will know what it means to be wanted and to be welcome.
Thank you very much. I've said the night prayer. May I go to sleep?
Are you sure you're quite ready?
I think so. See, I folded my dress very carefully. I can sleep on it. It's a good pillow.
But you mustn't sleep on the floor.
I always sleep on the floor.
Little girl, who sleeps in the bed if you sleep on the floor?
I don't think anyone told you. The bed? Why, the bed is for God.
Annu bannu arts levenot ule hibanot. Annu bannu arts levenot ule hibanot.
When they arrive in Palestine, you and I, we shall be able to rest more easily. For they will be welcome and wanted and greeted with the song Annu Banu Arza. We have come to our land to build and to be rebuilt, to redeem and to be redeemed through her. They will know what it means to be cleansed of terror. And once again they will retrieve their souls from pauperism and find honesty and normalcy and the blessed wonders of the commonplace. When I think of Seraya, I think of that. Such are my thoughts of Seraya. Sometimes when I think of Seraya, I am ashamed to be a human being. Ashamed to be a member of the species which could perpetrate the evil done. And almost as much ashamed of the good people of the world who stood by for so long and who stand idle now, looking into facts that are matters of common knowledge, while lives 9/10 destroyed are altogether destroyed. Sometimes when I think of Seraya, I want to hurl hard words at God. That terrible saying of Abraham, "Shall the judge of the whole earth not do justice?" Sometimes when I think of Seraya, I think of the soul-searing of the prophet. "Thou, too pure of eyes to behold evil, thou that canst not look on oppression, wherefore hast thou looked on when men did treachery, and did hold thy peace when the wicked swallowed up the righteous?" Sometimes I want to slip into some synagogue and say Kaddish, the prayer for the dead. Not the familiar Kaddish, but the saints' Kaddish. I want to stand up and cry over Seraya, over its dead, over its handful of living.
Yiskadal v'yiskadash me'ravo, v'yolemod hu asit li'eschadito.
Magnified and sanctified be God's great name in the world which he is to create anew, in which the dead will live, and life be eternal, and Jerusalem be rebuilt, and its shrine restored. Such are my thoughts of Seraya. For those who return, for those who come to America, for those who go to Palestine, at no moment, if I can help it, will they lack for food, clothing, shelter, medical care, or in the things that minister to the Spirit. The hope of Seraya is in the United Jewish Appeal. Yes, it is physically possible for you and for me to behave like the beasts, but we will not look comfortably into our mirrors or ever think happily of the God who made us, who singled us out for good fortune and bestowed on us so many merits which we deserved so little. Seraya looks to us for deliverance through the United Jewish Appeal. Deliverance speedy and full. Almighty God, exalt me. Make me to remember the dead and the living. Make me worthy to be fashioned in human form. Make me worthy to be fashioned in human form. Make me will to fight, and make me will to give. To fight until justice is accomplished, to give until mercy is done. These are my thoughts of Seraya. Let them also be yours. For your Seraya, and for mine.
Our script today was based upon an address delivered by Rabbi Milton Steinberg of the Park Avenue Synagogue and published in the Reconstructionist magazine. It was adapted for radio by Morton Wishengrad. If you would like a free copy of When I Think of Seraya, write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27 New York. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Cadams. Cantor Robert H. Siegel was the soloist, and featured as our narrator was Alexander Scourby. The entire production is under the direction of Frank Papp. This program was a presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and came to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. A free copy of today's script may be obtained by writing to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27 New York. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.